Well, there we go. And we're live again. And you're tired.
Pretty sure this is just how my face looks.
Yeah. We're both kind of tired. We have our coffee. How you guys doing today?
I think one of the four of us are awake, but you know what? Hello, we're just happy to be here, man.
Yeah, so we're live with another Reels and Heels, and this week's topic is the summer blockbuster, which I think everyone loves those movies during the summer. You know, the kids are out.
I think we're just rewatching them because of this year. There are no summer blockbusters.
I mean, there's a summer blockbuster this year?
Oh, man. You know, just to think about what might have been a blockbuster this year. I mean, Maverick was supposed to be out in June.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Loggins reunion tour. Yeah, I was going to get backstage passes, hearing him play Danger Zone on repeat. Yeah, man, could have happened, but we got to thank our good friends at COVID-19 for ruining our lives. So thanks, COVID.
Yeah. I think we would have had a new Bond film too, right? Because then they push summer into like April now. April is usually when the summer movies.
Well, we would have had Tenet too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tenet.
I don't even know what that is, that film.
That's the point. We don't want to know. We want to go in fresh and experience it for ourselves with no spoilers and no marketing.
Yeah, they've tried that before. But films bomb when that happens.
Yeah. So when we think of the summer blockbuster, I'll start with you, Jerome.
Yeah.
What comes what is the definition to you of a summer blockbuster?
I have two definitions. One, it's got to make a boatload of money. Okay. Second of all, it's got to be somewhat influential, as in you're talking about it years afterwards. Real summer blockbusters are defined not at the time they're happening, but afterwards. You know, that's for my personal definition.
Ryan, same question to you.
I can't follow that up. So Jerome answered the question for the entire class, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I would say. Jerome, what he said, he wins. There you go.
That's the old age here talking.
No. Hey, with age comes wisdom, my friend. Age is just
no.
Jerome,
Trust
I
me.
agree with his statements.
I don't know. I think I've gotten dumber, so I'm just saying.
Yeah, Jerome has got all the thunder today, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I'm hyped up on caffeine like you wouldn't believe.
Okay. So I didn't get a chance to see your show this morning, Jerome. So what did you guys cover today, and how did it go?
We covered the Herculoids from 1967. It's one of Mark's favorites. It was Mark's turn to choose the subject, and we covered that. And
that's Hanna-Barbera, right?
Yeah, Hanna-Barbera. And so we covered that, and we also made the announcement that for the rest of the month of August, we're taking a hiatus because we've gone almost a year and a half without a break. So we decided we needed some downtime, get us recharged so we can think about, new shows and everything else. In case you're wondering why I'm looking distracted, my wife has just sent me a text that I have to deal with something, so I may have to run off to find something in a moment. She's just getting some emergency work done.
Oh, okay. So Ryan, how's things going with the Nerdcast and nerd culture and all that?
Well, it's funny you should ask, Brian, because I've been like a busy man on steroids. I've been on several live streams. I've been doing live shows almost every day of the week, twice on a non-existent Sunday. I've been sleeping until Lord knows what, because, hey, when you don't have to go to school and you're on summer break, you don't have much to do, you get to sleep in and do whatever you want to do. So with that being said, I've been watching a boatload of films, catching up on my movies, enhancing my education when it comes to films. I've been recording the Nerdcast every week, talking about 2 different movies that I have had the opportunity to see and just share my thoughts with the millions and millions of listeners out there. So, I just try to entertain the millions and millions of people out there whenever I can, because let's face it, COVID-19 has sucked the air dry. We need to let something be positive. We need to electrify the audience in some way, shape, or form. So that's why people like us are here for you. So let's just keep that in mind as we go along. But other than that, I'm doing quite well, good sir.
That's good. So have you gone back and seen any like summer blockbusters that you might have missed the first time?
Well, most of the movies I've been watching as of late, I wouldn't consider them summer blockbusters per se. A lot of them are smaller movies, maybe movies that, aren't as talked about as some of the bigger films that came out during the summer season. But it's been fun learning about them. It's been fun watching them. I mean, if I had to pick, one, maybe two that were blockbusters, I'd have to think about it for about 20 minutes. And we don't have that kind of time because time flies when you're having fun on reels and heels. So I'll spare you the torture of that. But yeah, I'll be honest with you. Some blockbusters I can't get enough of. I mean, we've done a lot of watch-alongs recently on our show. We've done watch-alongs with other collaborators, which has been a lot of fun. We celebrated, 25 years young of Sandra Bullock's The Net with that girl from the bus. We celebrated 25 years young of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. We did 1997's non-existent summer blockbuster called Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, which is not even close to being considered a summer blockbuster. That would be considered a box office failure. And it's hard to say that coming from somebody who grew up in the 90s and worshiped the ground that Power Rangers walked on so heavily in the 90s. We're looking at you kids at Fox Kids. We love you to death. But yeah, what was it? A few weeks, maybe a month ago, it was a little indie film's 39th birthday called Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was a lot of fun to go back.
Yeah, that was the art house film. You got to watch out for those.
I know, seriously, man. What's an arc anyway? No one knows what that is. But I will say this.
Wait a minute, an arc, isn't that 2x2?
Yeah, it's a little box. Yeah, with angels on top of it. And if you
no, I was thinking an arc. Two animals. Go marching into the ark.
Yes, and then they mixed it together with Casper Van Dien and Starship Troopers. But I'll say this: Raiders of the Lost Ark is
descended into madness. I have no idea what's going on now.
It's okay, Nicole. Keep drinking your coffee, your tea, your winery. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's okay.
Brian, you need to spice it up and make it some Irish coffee instead of regular coffee.
Probably so. I don't know.
Well, I have
some. On the floor.
I have some of that stuff.
See, we're already discussing ingredients you can mix together with your favorite drinks during the day, morning.
I'm really very much a lightweight, so if I'm tired now, I'll be on the floor by the end of the show.
So let's hop into this year. Go ahead, Jerome.
I was gonna say one of the films that that was a summer film, and I actually went to the theater to see it. It's not considered a blockbuster, but it's incredibly influential. Was Blade Runner. I mean, if you look at it, people today talk about this Blade Runner. Oh yeah, I was there, but it didn't make any money. It barely made its budget back. But it was like one of the first real films that showed Harrison Ford could act, other than standing next to a walking carpet. You look at that film, and that film is still today influential. And that's why I consider a film like Blade Runner to be a summer blockbuster. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, I thought the sequel was a masterpiece. I mean, it didn't make the money that, either, but there are a lot of people in my circle that talk about it.
Yeah. But see, the question about something like Blade Runner, okay? Blade Runner, because it didn't make the money, and you find that out at the end of the year, how much the money is, because the studio accountants, do their bizarro magic. It's 10 to 20 to 30 years later, you go, okay, are we still talking about this film? Or is it a film that basically it made a lot of money, but nobody can remember what it was about? And I'll give you a classic example of that, okay? Nobody today talks about Avatar. Okay, how many people can still remember what that plot was? Okay, you're one.
It's pretty much Dances with Wolves on an alien planet.
Pretty much, but the point I'm getting at is it's an incredibly forgettable film, but it made over $1 billion. You see? So does it qualify as a summer blockbuster? Yeah, meets one of the two requirements.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I thought it was an enjoyable film. I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but I mean, I had fun. And
is that money, that movie made a boatload of money because of the 3D?
I think though, like looking through some of them though, it's because we remember them. that they are so important. And I don't know that all of them are necessarily hugely, the most influential movies of all time. Like, I mean, like my childhood is on this list, so I don't really know where I'm going with this. Hang on. But like
childhood is on this list.
But every single, most of the movies weren't masterpieces. But they all had a reason for being important to that time. Mm-hmm. So absolutely. When we think about the difference between like Jaws and Saving Private Ryan, it's only 13 years. 13 years? No,
more than that.
23 years. Yeah. There's only 23 years between them. I can't math either, by the way. But there's only 23 years between them, but you think about what you were going to see the movie for. Like Jaws, you were going to see this, summer movie. You weren't expecting to get a lesson. You were, don't go in the water. We need a bigger boat. But we weren't expecting to get a lesson. But in Saving Private Ryan, you were telling a story about someone who actually did exist or a time period that did exist. So what we go to the movies for is different.
Right. But with Jaws, you got to remember that movie came out. The book was still a huge bestseller before that movie came out. Okay. And that was part of what happened. Brian and I were talking yesterday about, was it yesterday, Brian? We were having this discussion about advertising.
Yes.
And you get a best-selling book and suddenly your movie or your TV show is suddenly very popular. Okay. And that helps.
Because you have a built-in audience already.
Exactly. I'm going to use a couple of examples, one that some people nowadays don't like, but look at Gone with the Wind. Okay. That movie was hugely popular at the time and still is because the book was even more popular than the movie at the time. Okay. I've just been watching through the first season through my childhood, The $6 Million Man. And that was my childhood. Okay. So that's before a lot of you guys. But
yeah.
at the time, though, there was a very popular book out called Cyborg that had, basically pushed that through. And again, a built-in audience, like you were saying, Brian.
Yeah, that show is before my time, but I actually like that show. I like Lee Majors, so.
Trust me, as a kid, how old was I when that came out? I was 11 years old when that came out. And there are stories about, the kids in the playground and everything to be told.
Yeah, see, I actually first found Lee Majors with Fall Guy, being an 80s. Yeah. So I went back and checked that out because I was into the whole sci-fi thing. So I would watch that and Bionic Woman.
But Lindsay Wagner.
Yeah, Lindsay Wagner. But so what I'm saying here is not just the advertising that you get on the TV and radio, but also, or the trailers, but also something like a popular book, or in the case of Marvel, 50, 60 years of comic books, people are going, here it is. So,
yeah. So
we have a
John.
My daughter.
So you mentioned Jaws, and we all know Jaws is pretty much the godfather of the summer blockbuster because we've had that discussion off camera that before Jaws, there wasn't really anything that was considered a blockbuster. They had films in the summer, but nothing that took off like Jaws, especially for the budget that it was made for and how much it ended up making. And the book is completely different than the movie. They took out the whole mob thing. There was a love affair with Hooper and Brody's wife that was taken out.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that's Hollywood for you. It's called creative liberties, folks. Happens 24/7.
In the book, Hooper hooked up with Brody's wife. Yeah.
Gee willikers. Man, that's scandalous.
That would ruin my entire opinion of Richard Dreyfuss. I don't.
That would have ruined a lot of people's image of Richard Dreyfuss too. It's dang. He's some dude who discovered aliens in his backyard one movie before this, and then he does this. It's what's going on? See, even the dogs understand what I'm saying.
The dog didn't care for it either. Yeah.
See, the dog knows what's up.
He thinks the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on?
Well, Close Close Encounters came out in 77.
Oh, that's
so.
right. But still, it would have tarnished his reputation if you put a man with his wife. That's no. It wouldn't have been a shark movie at that point. It would have been Scandal the movie.
Wasn't his wife in Close Encounters Terry Garr?
I believe so.
I've never seen Close Encounters, so I don't know.
Really? All right, I'll say
it.
this. You cannot watch Close Encounters on a small screen. That is a big screen movie that you have to see it on a big screen.
Well,
and
too bad we're not going to be able to have those for a while.
Yeah, and I have that on Blu-ray. There's like 3 different versions of that film.
Yeah, there's like 3 different cuts of the movie or something.
Well,
Just
you
like
don't
in
want to know
Blade
how
Runner,
many...
there's 40 different cuts of Blade
Yeah, I was
Runner.
going to say, you don't want to know how many cuts there are of Blade Runner. I got the briefcase here full of them.
Oh, a briefcase. Wow, so professional.
Oh, yeah, no. It's the, hang on a second here. It's the, it's the
we're taking a
director...
field trip?
Oh, yeah, no. I'm just reaching up.
Yeah, it's got the final cut, the director's cut, the theatrical cut, the work print.
It's got the Harrison Ford cut. What's the girl's name? She played
Daryl Hannah?
No, the love interest. What's her name?
Rachel, Sean Young.
Sean Young cut. I mean, yeah.
I'm not even sure how to open this thing anymore. There it is.
Oh, wasn't Daryl Hannah? Wasn't that right? Wasn't she?
Yes. That was. I think.
Yeah, but Sean Young was the other main character.
That was Rachel. Yeah, there you go.
See, I don't have the briefcase, but I do have the HD DVD of that set.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I didn't think it got nerdier than what I.
Daryl Hannah was in everything in the 80s. My God.
Oh, yeah.
Blade Runner. She was in Splash. She was in Wall Street.
She was with John Kennedy Jr.
Differentiating herself.
Oh, that's true.
In the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, she was almost Mrs. Kennedy.
Almost.
Oh, come on, she was dating John Kennedy Jr. for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. Man, geez, the things we learn. Yeah, the 80s. Let's just say this, kids. If the 80s were a magical time for movies, let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Yes. So, we have, Jaws, like I said, was, the godfather, and we'll get to what everybody calls the father of the summer blockbuster. But in between that, in 76, we have a horror film called The Omen, which took a lot of people by surprise, and there was a lot of hoo-ha in the
hoo-ha?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, hoo-ha's a good word. Yeah.
Like about the whole...
People still use it.
Yeah.
There was a big uproar because of the whole devil thing, and
oh yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you right now.
Didn't the PTA at every school in America freak out at that movie?
Yeah, but here's the thing: the Omen was actually the culmination of a buildup of those. Because if you look back from about 69 all the way to The Omen, there were a lot of those devil movies. Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist. It all built up to The Omen, and after The Omen, devil movies kind of went, down after that. There wasn't as good or as many of them.
Yeah. But
because they all got real weird.
Well, yeah.
I mean, every horror movie is weird to its own extent.
If you look, he mentioned The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby, which had major stars in them. With The Omen, Gregory Peck,
Atticus Finch.
Yeah,
Atticus.
I think that might have been the reason that it was so popular at the time. That Gregory Peck was in it, but also it was kind of that. Like you're right, it was kind of the culmination, right? It was like we'd seen The Exorcist, we'd seen Rosemary's Baby. Now let's see what the Antichrist would look like.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because I actually enjoyed Omen 3 better than the first one. That was the one with Damien's all grown up and as an ambassador to London.
Oh my God.
It was a fun film.
How many sequels did they make to that? Like 70? Oh, they made 4. That still counts as 70. They make 70 horror sequels to every horror film that's ever come out. The Freddys, the Jasons, all of them. They've made like 70 sequels by now. It's terrible.
Well, I was gonna say, with the Omen sequels though, they are I mean, not as good as the first one, but they do have a following. And for those that like Shout Factory, their horror offshoot called Scream Factory actually has a box set with all the Omen collection in it.
I thought the TV show was pretty good. It was on Hulu, I think.
Yeah. I think Omen 2, though, was actually scarier than Omen 1. Because Damien is now this 12, 13-year-old kid at this military school. And the way he controls it just to me, it just seems scarier than the baby being born, you know?
If you know 12 and 13-year-olds, aren't they kind of scary?
I don't know yet. Mine's only 7, so
I teach them.
Boy.
They're freaking scary. And there's no limits to the crazy that can come out of their mouths.
Oh, I hear you.
I'm wondering, though, at this time, how many people decided not to name their child Damien?
Still not named Damien.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised because it still is it's not a top 100 name, but it's still a name that you hear a lot.
Oh boy.
In Catholic societies too, which is kind of strange. But
Yeah, that's not creepy at all.
No.
Yeah. So, I'm looking at the budget for both Jaws and The Omen. The Omen was made for $2.8 million.
Jeez.
And it ended up making
the unadjusted for
unadjusted is $60.9 million.
Pretty good.
So
$60.9 million. There's a 6 and a 9 in there. Oh boy. We all know where that came from.
But based on today's standards, that would be $257.7 million.
That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
Can we have some of that money, Hollywood? We're
See,
going
and
broke over here.
this is why they keep making horror movies, though, because horror movies do
They're
turn a
cheap to
profit.
make.
Oh heck, come on. How much did it cost to make Blair Witch?
Blair Witch.
Like it
Didn't
was
it
under $1 million, I think.
Didn't it cost like $25 to make that movie?
That's what I'm thinking. And how much did it make?
I think it made like, oh gosh, first one came out in
Probably about 500,000, or I mean,
What do you talk about, Willis?
No, not
500,000?
500,000.
That's too low. You
No.
gotta pump those numbers up, man.
no, I meant like million.
500 million?
5 million.
Okay, the budget
10 million.
was $200 to $500,000. No exact number. Made $248.6 million.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Jeez.
serious return on investment.
But if you think about that, though, it was the marketing that went along with it because people really thought it was found footage,
They thought it was real.
and then they blew up the legend, which a lot of people are like, well, what's really happening?
And
people were
people were
excited
traveling to that location.
I should know. I'm from there.
I'm good.
Oh, you're from there.
Yeah. Most of it was filmed in Maryland.
Have you seen the Blair Witch?
That's the sad thing. I live in the place where this was filmed, but yet I've never seen the gosh darn trilogy. I've never seen Blair Witch 1, 2, or the reboot Blair Witch. So believe me, folks, I'm doing my home state a terrible disservice, okay? Look, I'll be honest with you. I was almost cast in a little indie film called Tuck Everlasting from Walt Disney Studios
I know that
was
film.
shooting in Berlin on the Eastern Shore, okay?
Yeah.
I was almost an extra. Heck, I wanted to audition for that thing. But my stage fright got the better of me, and I told my parents, I said, you know what? Don't think I can do this. Let's just mosey on down to the cafe and grab a bagel toasted with cream cheese. And I regretted it every day since because in my humble professional opinion, Tuck Everlasting is one of Walt Disney Pictures' best live action movies I've ever seen in my life. That movie will tear your heart out and have you in tears by the end of the movie. But it's so well produced and well acted. So Walt Disney, I apologize for not being a part of your masterpiece back in the day, because I would have been happy to work with Alexis Bledel, Joshua Jackson, William Hurt, Sissy Spacek, Ben Kingsley. I would have done anything to work with that humble abode of a cast.
Brian, you need to go watch Old Yeller.
Oh no, I've already seen that movie. It's I can't see it anymore. It's too scary.
Or
Can't do
Pounder, or Shiloh, or dogs can die. It's just not okay.
Oh, no, Old Yeller they can, but and that movie's
Well,
fine.
no,
The
he
Old
was
Yeller-
a beloved dog. Just because he had rabies, it was still sad. The point was that yes, they shot him because he had rabies, but it was sad because he was still somebody's beloved dog.
It's true. And Old Yeller's a good, solid, old school OG Disney film. But in modern day society, more specifically Tuck Everlasting, I love you to pieces. So great film. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, summer blockbusters. Yeah. Brian, what's up next?
Right. So Jerome, we said The Godfather was Jaws. So since you were there in '77, you want to go ahead and talk about the father of the summer blockbuster?
The Fasha.
So as a kid, okay, I gotta do a little preface on this. First off, I grew up in the military. My dad is a 20-year serviceman. So I grew up on military bases. And just so you are aware, Star Wars, the father of did not show up on military base theaters. Okay, it was not there at all. Okay, but in the spring of '77, a lot of the magazines that you would get in school to help literacy and stuff like that, Star Wars was prominently displayed. There was a magazine called Read, and it was all in there. Didn't tell a thing about it. Had these lovely splash photography. My music teacher went absolutely ape. This was as 6th and 7th grade because she loved the music. So she cut up the Rolling Stone article because it had all these splashy colors. And Star Wars only started off in a few theaters. It was part of a double feature. They didn't think it was going to do anything. Okay. And this film took off out of nowhere by a lot of word of mouth. The trailer is not that impressive if you ever see it. And there was next to no advertising on TV other than showing the occasional trailer. And this film took off, and it changed how you watched films. In the old, can you guys hear me okay? You guys all look like you're having trouble hearing me.
No, we can hear you.
Okay. In the old days, you used to go to a theater, and if you wanted, say you wanted to see Sound of Music, which my mother was a huge fan of, you could sit in the theater, go in in the morning, and you could stay there all day and not have to repay for watching the show. Star Wars, basically, they kicked you out. You wanted to see it again, you had to pay for it a second time, third time, and so on. And that changed how movies were viewed. And Star Wars was also one of the only films to get re-released. Okay? In '79, it was re-released. That's when I finally got to see it in a drive-in. Now, to explain to you how deprived I was as a child, it was part of a double feature with Sean Connery called The Great Train Robbery. And after watching it, my father went, I like The Great Train Robbery better. So, but yeah, that film was everywhere. It was a slow burn, and by the time you hit July 4th, that film was everywhere. People could not stop talking about it.
Yeah, and it's true that people were lining up around this. This wasn't just in LA or New York. This was like in every big city, every small city. People were lining up around the block to get in to see Star Wars.
Right. It was a serious word of mouth film. It didn't have that great of a marketing, not at least in the Northeast where I was, but that thing took off in such a way that you almost swear that if you go back historically and look at it, you'd swear it was social media that did it, but it was just people talking to each other. And
it's crazy that the film was only made for $11 million,
and that's over budget too. He was over budget and over time too.
So, the unadjusted that summer, it ended up making $461 million.
Yeah.
So, with all the re-releases and the adjustment for inflation, that's $1.660 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, that film spawned, just changed everything from summer blockbusters to merchandising, which we're all familiar with now, to what types of films. It made science fiction legitimate, in theater.
Yeah, so with Star Wars and Jaws, really setting the standard for summer blockbusters, because people were lining up for Jaws. People were going back for Jaws as well.
Oh yeah.
So these two films, Jaws just celebrating its 45th anniversary.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is 42 years old?
43.
Yeah.
43, 2 more years.
And
We'll turn
think about
45,
it.
man.
These two films that are now basically, we're talking generations ago, because the generation's about 20 to 25 years, is still impacting us today. We're still quoting lines from those films.
I mean, there's memes out there. Like, I could go to Facebook and go under like GIFs and stuff and type in Jaws and just see tons of things come.
How many times do people keep saying you're going to need a bigger boat?
Yeah.
How many times people go, and I got a bad feeling about this. Both these films are, I mean, you look at those films and the impact that they had, not only on the industry, culture, and basically the two guys who made it,
Exactly.
I mean, think about it. What did Lucas do before Star Wars? He did
American Graffiti.
American Graffiti and THX 1138. Oh yeah, it's a great film. THX 1138, which was his college film expanded to where he got Duvall into it.
Mm-hmm.
Spielberg had basically done a movie called Duel with
right.
where the guy, and I can't think of the actor's name, but basically being chased by a semi truck. Okay.
Gosh.
Yeah, that was a made-for-TV film. This guy was unknown.
Man.
Okay, neither of these two had really had that big of a deal, and suddenly now they're the movie moguls from these two films alone.
And I mean, in my opinion, Spielberg's the GOAT. I mean, when it comes to directors,
there's still debate. I mean, there can be some debate on that.
I think it depends on what you want to see.
You might want to add that to your list of subjects for next month, Brian. Who is the greatest of all time?
Do I need to write that down?
When it comes to filmmakers, who is the greatest of all time? Who is the real GOAT?
Spielberg is part of the end of what they called the new wave. Okay, and there's a lot of, I mean, Scorsese.
Scorsese's a big fish.
Yeah, okay. But, I mean, look at, like, Hitchcock and John Ford. They're great directors.
Hitchcock.
Okay.
Rear Window all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hitchcock, he had a way of, like, filming, like, because I believe he was trained in cinematography as well. And that's why the way his films were shot the way they were.
Shot beautifully with great actors. My goodness gracious. You look at the catalog of what Hitchcock did in those movies. Nelly. He had Grace Kelly at Monaco, Eva Marie Saint. He had them all. He had Janet freaking Leigh in Psycho. I mean, which, by the way, Psycho just turned 60.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So happy anniversary to everybody who worked on Psycho and Hitchcock. My man. Good stuff with Psycho.
I think it is what you want to see. We can kind of cast like certain directors into certain kinds of films that they direct.
Yeah, I mean, this was
like
also
Spielberg tends to be more
family friendly,
sci-fi, fantasy,
real life.
Maybe some real life, but most of it's fantasy. And then you have Alfred Hitchcock. I'm sorry, is kind of more of a horror thriller type movie.
Yeah,
suspense, and then like Scorsese tends to be more of your
character. He's a character-driven director.
Syndicate type stuff. Like, I'm just not a big sorry.
I don't think Spielberg's a paint by numbers director, but
I have to disagree with him on that. I think some of his films are that way, but he's also the guy who created the paint by numbers.
That's true.
But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it sells tickets, then and it sells movies, then you keep on doing what works.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is. I was gonna say this is the time that they don't do this much these days, where actors and directors made movies. People would go and see based on the actor. Nowadays, people Tom Hanks, just because Tom Hanks is in it doesn't mean it's going to be a big hit.
But
during the 70s and 80s, you attach a name and people are like, oh, he or she's in it, I got to go see it.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. What happened back then, but that started going downhill about the mid '90s. Okay, I mean, when was the last time you ran off to go see? Like you said,
He's not a director; he's a producer. But...
Yeah, I was gonna say, Willow, I love you to pieces, but Jerry Boy is my producer. He ain't my director. Okay.
Right.
Plus, he hasn't made a good movie in a couple of years. Although I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Top Gun Part 2 Maverick. But,
I have no desire to see that film.
That's a shame because I think Top Gun Maverick is going to be awesome-tacular, quite frankly. But then again, we'll wait and see once the movie is officially out.
Speaking of which, I mean, it's like, it used to be right after Risky Business, people would say, oh, it's a Tom Cruise film, I'm going to go see it.
Oh, yeah,
right?
He sold tickets for like 20 years.
Right. Now people are like, it's a Tom Cruise film? I mean, look at Oblivion. People didn't go see that movie because Tom Cruise was in it. Or what was the other one?
Look at Vanilla. No one really wanted to see Vanilla Sky.
No, nobody wanted to see. What was the other one he did where he was a soldier and it kept doing Groundhog Day in the war?
Edge of Tomorrow. That was a good movie.
That was good.
That's a good movie.
It was an okay film, but nobody went to it because Tom Cruise was in it. You could have put generic hunky boy in the Tom Cruise film, and it still would have been the same film.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, hey, people turned out to see our beautiful Emily Blunt, so let's. Yeah.
But we do go see movies whether we like them or not, like whether we like the actor or not.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry, but as soon as Tom Hanks jumped on Oprah's couch and went cuckoo for Scientology,
Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah's couch.
Sorry. Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise are being talked about in the same segment, so I'm sorry. I can't words either. Jeez. I quit. Hey.
Yeah, it's okay. Tom Cruise went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for a little while.
When he went nuts, though, I think a lot of people were like, well, okay then, like maybe not. And he's not, I don't watch any of his movies now, like to be completely honest. I just don't like him anymore.
Bummer.
I mean, I watch the old stuff, but
I'll watch the old stuff, but I have no interest. I love Top Gun. Top Gun is one of my favorite movies, but I'm not going to go see anything he's in now. Like, he's kind of over, and I would watch Maverick, but I was pretty partial to Goose, and he's gone. So,
yeah.
I mean, something I do hear about Tom Cruise, though, and this is across all the films he's done back in the day till now, that he actually is a nice guy on set. I've heard a lot of that stuff, and he does do a lot for charity. I do know that.
Not disputing that one bit. Just don't care for the films he makes. Lately. I mean, right. I'll give him credit for Tropical Thunder. That was inspired.
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, but
I didn't enjoy his character in that.
Yeah, but
Mission Impossible films are good though.
I think he jumped the shark after the second one.
If you like that movie, though,
that is what we call in the industry a boom hot take.
I'm old school Mission Impossible. I'm Peter Graves' Mission Impossible.
Oh, Peter Graves, yeah.
Okay, if you go back and watch that had more suspense than the modern Mission Impossibles. I think Mission Impossible turned into Tom Cruise was ticked that he couldn't be James Bond. Okay.
Maybe.
Oh,
I mean, you look at those are like almost James Bond films.
Man. After MI2, geez, MI2 was the worst one.
Yeah, after MI3, they got better.
Oh, MI3 is just.
I already walked away by then. I'd walked away.
Whatever, I don't. On with the next one.
So, to change things up, in '78, we have a musical turned into a film.
Yep.
Grease.
Yeah.
Another film that pretty much blew up at the box office.
It was funny. What were we talking about in the car that day when we were coming back? And we were talking about if so-and-so had been in this movie, then he wouldn't have done this movie.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about Solo and people that were auditioning for Han Solo. It was like it was John Travolta, Kurt Russell, Christopher Walken, and, of course, Harrison Ford got it. But we were talking like if certain people got Tom Selleck was also in the running for Han Solo. If certain people got certain roles, like how things would have changed going forward, like if Tom Selleck ended up being in Star Wars, we would have never got Magnum PI, or at least
I don't think he was up for it. I think he was up for Indiana Jones.
Maybe. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Tom
100%, but I
Selleck
think
was up for
might
that.
be.
So was Dustin
Right.
Hoffman.
But like if John Travolta had gotten the role, I mean, like we were talking about how it would have been a different movie. And if Christopher Walken would have gotten the role, it would have been completely different. Like they would have all played so differently.
Yeah.
You know, so then we were talking, well, he wouldn't have done Grease then. So like John Travolta in that role, you know, like has kind of been iconic. So then we would have pretty much changed up everything.
Can I just say this though? If Christopher Walken did end up being Han Solo, I can just see him be like, "So this is my Wookiee."
I wouldn't have been watching the movie.
Need more cowbell.
Need more cowbell.
I like Christopher Walken in certain things, but
yeah, but if you look at like Travolta, remember Travolta was coming off of Saturday Night Fever when Grease hit. He had done Welcome Back Carter, the TV show. He was really popular on that. He was a runaway star on that. Then he went and did Saturday Night Fever, which nobody expected that movie to do as well as it did. And that's part of the reason he was cast in Grease was Saturday Night Fever, because they proved he could dance. You know, a lot of actors might be able to sing, but they can't, you know, move 2 feet in front of the other without falling over them.
Yeah. And that he could sing.
Right. And Olivia Newton-John had just come off of a ton of #1 hits. You know?
By the bed.
The kids?
In the room.
It's in the bedroom.
So we lost Ryan, now we lost Brian. Oh my God, it's just you and me, Nicole.
Well, as far as like Olivia Newton-John had the look. And I think that was really important, is that she could live in both of those worlds. Like they could make her look like the, you know, sweet girl next door. And then they could spice her up because she was. I mean, she did have, she had a pretty banging body back then. So.
Well, she also had all those hits, which proved that she could carry a tune. Right. So you don't need to, you know, dub her over like this they've done on some things, you know.
And some of the people that were also in the movie were later on in other forms of like Broadway and things like that, because Stockard Channing was in a couple of things too.
Well, the funny thing is that Stockard Channing was actually the oldest cast member.
She's almost 40.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at like Jeff Conway, you know, he was just starting Taxi just as that film came out. You know, unfortunately, I had a chance to meet him, and he was basically says he couldn't remember anything that happened on Grease because he was high all the time. I mean, the guy had addiction problems. You know.
Well, didn't everybody back then though? Like, didn't everybody have some sort of something?
Yeah, somebody was doing something. What was interesting though was Grease was also really popular on the stage. It had won Tonys left and right. It was white. Grease and both the Broadway and the movie were writing that Happy Days role too, also, because at the time Happy Days was running also. So here we have this nostalgia of going back to the 1950s. By then, like people, my parents, and they're watching this saying, "Oh yeah, it was like that when I was growing up." Yeah, people rock out and song all the time. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, since you were, you know, how old were you when Grease came out?
Was that 79? You said
78.
78, 79, somewhere around 14, 15.
So what was the verdict like? Because I know people, this was based on the Broadway show. What did people back then, if you remember, feel about the movie version? Because it was a bit different than the Broadway show.
Most people didn't see the Broadway show. Remember, if it's based on Broadway, most people don't get to go to the theater, you know, because it's in New York. I was up in New Hampshire at the time, just moved down to Massachusetts. No, I mean, I knew that it was part of the Broadway, but had no clue what it was. Just knew that it had won a lot of awards. And it was something about the 1950s. So I'm being dragged to the theater by my folks, and it's musical, which my folks, you know, were like, "Oh, it's great. We haven't seen musicals in forever." And it was a hugely popular one. The soundtrack alone, I think, was like #1 or something. You know, there's 2 songs on there that hit hit high on the charts. So this thing was very popular from all ages because it was It was a simple story. It was boy meets girl story. The tunes were catchy. You could sing them along with them. It came on the radio. You didn't have to be hip or a goth or anything like that. You just those songs were catchy, and that was important.
Yeah, soundtracks play a big role in film.
Oh, huge.
And we talk about advertising. Well, there's advertising right there.
Yeah.
Well, and also when you think about like the time period, I think we talked about this on one of the other shows. When we talk about shows or movies working decades later, if they're like a decade piece, you are talking about your parents taking you to the movie and saying, this is what it was like when I was a kid. And so we have a little bit of nostalgia. I think maybe that's why we hold on so dear to the things that we love. All things 80s and 90s. I mean, I think like we hold on to that too. And it becomes part of our pop culture. So all of those lines and all of the little looks and the things that happen in those movies, I think they become part of our culture because they are so important to our lives, and they're a way for us to hold on to whatever was happening back then. And I think maybe that's why like American Graffiti and movies like that are still important to movies and important to people.
Yeah, they're a snapshot.
We're holding on to our history in TV, like in movies.
Yeah.
So,
Ryan, do you have any thoughts?
I've never seen this movie, so I can't say. And the other thing is, Ryan doesn't really like musicals, so
Ryan, you need to see Grease. Trust me, you'll like it.
Grease.
I don't know, man. Ryan doesn't speak musicals very well.
Dude, $5 says you'll like it.
Well,
if he is adamant, because I'm telling you, my sister is not into musicals, and I cannot carry on a conversation with her about anything musical related. Nothing.
I mean, I've seen a few musicals here and there. I've been to Broadway, and I've enjoyed maybe one or two of them. But other than that, it's like I am not the biggest musicals fan. I'm sorry.
If you like the 50s, though, you'll appreciate it. I think.
We shall see, folks. Time will tell. I'm always expanding my movie education with all the stuff I've been taping recently. So if Grease shows up,
I mean, heck, my wife loves musicals, so I mean, I've got a whole Oscar and Hammerstein collection up here at the house. So
that's fine.
I'm a musical. I love musicals, but
that's okay. Just may not be my flavor of the month, but hey,
Grease was up until recently. Grease was considered one of the last of the successful musicals. They attempted it back in the late '90s, early aughts with Moulin Rouge, and that kind of failed miserably.
Jeez, I watched like 10, 15 minutes of that, and I had no idea what was going on. I wanted to get out of Dodge. So that's why I left it. I didn't even bother watching the rest of the movie, because despite Nicole Kidman's beauty and Ewan McGregor kind of doing decently, not great, but a decent job being young Obi-Wan, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Listen, I got dragged to the theater from my ex-wife, so I had no choice on that. But my point is that until Hamilton came along, that was the last of the truly successful musicals, was Grease. Okay,
but in the time span between Grease and now with Hamilton, I think the difference is, and what's being talked about, like everybody could get behind the 50s because there was iconic imagery. I think everybody can get behind Hamilton because, let's just face it, it's kind of like playing out a lot of the things that are happening now. Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner, and he's played by a black guy. Like, that whole idea of shaking history up a little bit is kind of where we're at in the world. But
there was with Grease, there was a rose-colored glasses of how the innocent the 50s were. Okay, and let's be kidding. Yeah. No time is perfect. That we all say, "Oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that." No time was perfect. Okay, they all had their problems. That's why before the show we were talking about times and all that, about living in and whatever, and having lived in some of those times that we were talking about, I can tell you, I would love to go back to some of that time, but I also know that some of the hardships and some of the problems that were going on in those times that people forget about. People forget about how crazed the country got during the oil crisis in '72. Okay, they completely forget about a lot of stuff, and so that's part of what happened with Grease. Was there was a lot of rose-colored glasses on the high schools of the 50s and stuff like that, And recently my father, because my father's getting old and, very ill, he started telling me some of the darker side of his high school days that he wouldn't talk about. So, like I said, Grease is basically rose-colored glasses. But it was a good film.
Think that's a lot of what we do in film is that we escape to the times when it was better. And that's why we rose-colored glass everything, I think, because it's easier to say these are the beautiful times, these are the wonderful things. And now, I hate to say it, but there was the whole underlying story of, damn it, what is her name? Rizzo. Yeah. Rizzo having to have an abortion and the pain that goes along with that. And I think that was a huge thing in the 50s before it was okay to be pregnant out of, wedlock and all of those things too. I mean, it did kind of cherry pick, what it wanted to talk about, but it was important and more of a kind of a Saturday, after school special kind of, but it made sense that a lot of the stuff they talked about would be that rose-colored glasses thing, because that's what we wanted to remember about the 50s. Nobody wants to remember how crappy it was.
Right. And spoiler alert to Ryan here, though, is that at the end, you can see the changes coming from the 50s to the 60s. You can sort of see that happening at the end scenes of what's going on. It's the farewell to the 50s type of situation. But yeah, I mean, it was a good film. Like I said, it was very popular, very catchy tunes. I mean, I knew kids in high school were humming those tunes, and the kids later, when they became seniors, were too cool for words, who wouldn't do that sort of thing to be caught dead with. So we've killed Grease.
In 79, it was the Amityville Horror, which we have another horror movie that, broke box office norms.
That was another one of those that the book was very popular too. Well,
and they had done a few investigations under what happened when the DeFeos lived in the house too. So I think that was out, and so people were excited, and the Warrens were part of that too. So I think everybody was really interested in what the Warrens were doing as far as their ghost.
Yeah, like I said, I remember when that came out, the movie, people were like, oh, finally, the movie's coming out based on the book. People that I was around. There was a lot of people very excited on that aspect of it.
Do you remember actual news articles from
Yeah. Amityville Horror was all over the news, all over. I mean, there was things like In Search Of and all these mini documentaries about the Amityville Horror all over the place during that time, especially during 77, 78.
That's just crazy how you have these horror films, which usually don't come in the summer, but here we've already talked about 3 in the 70s that just were so popular.
Oh yeah.
I think that, like I said, pop culture has a lot to do with what we consider, blockbusters. Like, what are people going to go see? Our pop culture references all come from those things. Like, we've all pretty much seen those movies.
Yeah.
I guess there's handfuls of people that haven't, but
the 2 leads definitely brought the folks in. I'm almost guaranteeing that Margot Kidder and James Brolin were people were like, oh, we need to see this.
Lois Lane was in the original.
I think the constant revisiting of that house and that iconic imagery of the 2 windows and the way the house looked, I think that kind of solidified whether people were going to go see that movie or not.
Yeah, well, with the windows there was, that house looked creepy and that's one of the ends of the house. That house looked creepy as hell.
It looked like a face. That's
exactly. You couldn't ask for better advertising. Now those windows, by the way, have been removed.
They have?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the pictures of the house that they got rid of that whole look to that house. That house has been redone.
Well, it's probably because people were camped out on their lawn.
Pretty much, yeah.
At some point, you get tired of people. I mean, like the Nightmare on Elm Street house, actually, we went, and the people are really nice. Like, we didn't see them. They weren't home when we went, but we drove by and we took pictures of it, and we were like, oh, We're at the Nightmare on Elm Street house. It looks exactly the same.
So Terry's asking a question that.
Oh,
We kind of addressed it at the beginning,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Yeah, I don't think Terry was here for that.
Yeah.
You're late to the party, Terry. We still love you, man, but we kind of answered that already.
Basically, it's a popular film that happens to make a buttload of money during the summer.
And generally still holds kind of audiences captive now.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm eating Pringles because I haven't eaten anything all day.
Hey, I was eating my breakfast during my show this morning, so don't worry about it. It happens.
Yeah.
It's a podcast, man. We're not Hollywood.
So we opened the 80s with Star Wars again, Empire Strikes Back.
Now, I have a question on this one because you guys are horror films also. May of 1980 also had the beginning of a horror franchise.
That's right, Friday the 13th.
Right. Now, do you consider that one a blockbuster for the summer because it opened in May? I mean, come on. How many films? I mean, there's at least 13 Friday the 13th films plus the TV show.
Actually, I would consider that one a blockbuster based on, I think for the longest time, that was the most successful for the budget. I believe it was made for $500,000.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, $500,000. I've got it up here on Wikipedia. $500,000, and it made of that time's money, which was $59.8 million of 1980 cash. So I don't know what it is for 2020 cash.
Jeez.
But if you look at it, it's got at least 13 sequels, comic books, novels, and a TV show.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, this is a hugely huge franchise, and that's why I was wondering if you would have considered the first film a Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah, I would consider, I mean, not like blockbusters that are, on this list,
Right.
But it is a very successful horror film.
I guess it depends on when you think summer blockbusters start. Because I think that
I'm trying to remember.
over the course of the years, though, summer blockbusters changed based on when kids were out of school and when people were going to see movies. So, like when I was a kid in the late 70s and the early 80s, we weren't getting out of school until the second week in June.
Right.
So most of those movies weren't coming out until June. So in the 80s, when it comes out in May, did they consider that a summer blockbuster, or did they consider it, like now with the Marvel movies, everything is considered a blockbuster if it comes out in freaking April.
March.
So,
But for horror standards, I would call it a blockbuster.
Right.
Fair enough.
So
yeah, like I said, then we have Empire Strikes Back, which pretty much
that was it. That's all that was talked about that summer.
Yeah, I mean it had a bigger production budget.
Yeah, and the big ending, the big surprise at the end there, everybody was talking about that. There were conversations about relationships, changed the entire storyline.
Yeah. And is it true though that was a last minute thing? Like that wasn't originally part of Empire Strikes Back? I thought I've heard him say that.
I had read somewhere that he had intended to do it all along, but they filmed several different versions of that scene, so that nobody would know that it was this is the only person that the only two people who knew about it, that it was official, was Hamill and James Earl Jones, because he did the voiceover. And they said that Prowse was given other lines, but Hamill had to act it as he's told what it was really going to be, is what I've read. Now, the only person I could say to ask is either Lucas or Hamill themselves to see for sure on that, But that's what I've read. I do know that the funny thing is the novelization of Empire came out before the movie. So I had read the novelization, and I inadvertently spoiled it for a number of high schoolers on the bus when I went.
Man, that's not good.
Was the book the same as the movie?
Close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah, I mean there was some, obviously there's some things you can't really explain visually in a book that you can do on film, but it was close enough. You got enough of the story.
Yeah. Wasn't that? Yeah, that movie just turned 40 years young this year. Jeez.
Yeah.
So many anniversaries, folks. That's why we do live watch-alongs. Stay tuned. We got more coming for you. Got a lot. Hey, man, you should see what we're doing in August. There's going to be some good parties in August.
I'll have to join you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you're a fan of this film that's turning 25, but we can talk more about that later.
Yeah.
I think we're ushering kind of into the era of Spielberg, to be completely honest.
The golden era of Spielberg in the 80s.
Wait a minute, we're going to talk about 1941?
No. You know what we're talking about, folks. You're watching this at home. You're thinking, wait a minute, 1980. Wasn't there a little film that came out in 81 that exploded? Yes, there is. But hopefully we'll get to 81 in a minute.
And it helped with the Reese's Peanut Butter piece of sales.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And we could talk about that all night.
Oh, I love that film.
I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't love that movie?
I mean, and okay, to me, this film also was the height of John Williams' music.
Oh,
okay.
So
I mean,
good.
I mean, John Williams. I mean, there's another show right there, movie music, not just
Movie
the musical scores. Yeah, John Williams, man, just dominated from Jaws, and he even did some stuff before, like Time Tunnel and all that. But from Jaws up until about the late, I would say, I think he did Schindler's List. It wasn't a popular film without a John Williams score. You know?
Yeah, and it's funny because
go ahead.
Williams is like the go-to composer for both Lucas and Spielberg.
Because he's the GOAT, Brian. He's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT.
I'm with Brian on this.
If you think about it, though, I think a lot of the movies that we've come to love had John Williams music in it. Like we were, petrified with the Donna, and then, everything that I know about these movies, there's an iconic sound that goes along with it. It's like you didn't just see the movie, you heard it.
Yeah, it's like every time I'm outside and it's raining and I see the water, I can just hear the. And it's like, from Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
when you see the ripple, I was like,
yeah, but I mean, you think about this, okay? You know, for the very like 3 or 4 notes, you can tell Superman from the 70s, Star Wars, Raiders, Close Encounters, the 5 notes, Jaws. I mean, at least Williams understands each film has to sound differently, right?
Mm.
A lot of composers for films, they were like cookie cutters. They were the same sound
like Elfman. A lot of his music's the same.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, he's a good guy, but an Elfman. With Williams, man, it's every film has got a different sound to it. He works really close with the filmmakers, and I think Raiders was the pinnacle of what he did because it was. I got a feeling it was something he really enjoyed because it was that old movie serial feel.
Yeah, and with this series, the Indiana Jones series, isn't the next one actually takes place before Raiders?
I don't know, but if it's got Harrison, I figure he's going to be running with a walker.
I mean, like
he's in pretty good shape for being almost 80.
He's almost like, isn't he?
I was going to say Temple of Doom though takes place before Raiders, right?
No.
I thought Temple of Doom was before Raiders in the story-wise. I know Raiders was the first film, but I thought Temple of Doom.
Yeah, no, you're right. It takes place 2 years before the events of Raiders, but that movie never happened. So it's just Raiders and Last Crusade. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You don't like Temple of Doom?
I like
Temple
of
of Doom. No. That movie is
that movie had a lot of problems. That movie had a lot.
I don't know. If it's got Harrison Ford in it, I'm watching it. So I don't know.
Well, look, here's the thing.
I think the Ford film ought to be ignored also.
Yeah, that's fine too. But here's the thing. Nothing against. I mean, Temple of Doom's a bad film, no doubt about it. But here's the thing: it kills me to say that because I have met Short Round in real life, Ki-Hai Kwan, who played Data in the Goonies, one of the most fun movies of the 1980s. Yes, I'm looking at you, Richard Donner. So it's like, I mean, I feel bad to say that, but buddy, pal, Temple of Doom is garbage. When you're in the Goonies, you're the man. When you're in Temple of Doom, it's like, what movie am I watching? This makes no sense. So yeah, Temple of Doom never happened. But Raiders of the Lost Ark certainly happened. Oh yeah, and then a little film called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which topped off the '80s in '89. That certainly happened, and that blew the doors off. And that's one of the best adventure movies ever made. See, you people agree with me, don't you? Or you have no idea what I'm talking about?
I'd have to disagree slightly. I think Raiders was better than Last Crusade.
That's fair. I think overall the best Indiana Jones film is that, but my favorite is Last Crusade. Because that was my exposure to Indiana Jones as a kid.
I can talk about how great the opening scene of Raiders is.
Oh, it's great.
I think a lot of people talk about the opening, like he's going through the jungle and like
it's one of the best introductions to a character of all time.
Oh yeah, and here's okay, the guy that's in the cave with him, the guy that's going like this, when
Alfred Molina.
Yeah, and he later becomes a villain.
It's true. Doc Ock, ladies and gentlemen.
He does. He becomes Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Well,
he was also in a movie, a Lifetime movie, where he kind of played the villain with what's her Sally Field, Not Without My Daughter.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny how we cast people in the wrong cultural setting. Like, I just think it's funny, like, because all Native American people are generally Asian. And I just think that that's crazy because there's got to be more Native American people out there that are willing to be actors.
Oh, there are. Come on. Robert Townsend did a whole movie about it called The Hollywood Shuffle. Okay. But, I mean, they are what they are, and they're a snapshot of their times, and you accept them for what they are, and there's no need to basically go, we can't ever watch it again, No,
I wasn't saying that. I just thought it was bizarre. I just think it's strange because it's Alfred Molina. You can definitely tell that he is not Middle Eastern. Like,
great actor though.
Oh, he is a great actor.
I mean,
and he's actually a really nice guy too.
My kids used to always.
But he was really good at the beginning of that film where he betrayed Indy.
Si, senor. Stay here.
It's one
of the best intros in a movie.
The beginning of his picture as a villain.
And again, look at, what is it, 40 plus years now that film's been out? 40 years?
39.
Yeah, 39 years. And we're still talking about it.
Because it's awesome.
Well, that's my point. That's, again, Blockbuster. We're still talking about this film, and that film has influenced the action genre for how long now still?
Well, how many times have you seen the scene where he's grabbing the idol imitated in movies and TV shows and video games? How big of an influence it's been on pop culture. Like, people go to Comic-Cons dressed up as this character, me included, and I would reenact that scene.
I went and met Adam Savage, dressed as Indy.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
You okay?
That's awesome. I mean, I met the second time I saw Ki Kwan, I was in my Indy outfit. Yeah. He loved it.
Granted, I made it look like I burnt off an eyebrow for Adam Savage, but that was still another subject. But, I mean, culturally, Indiana Jones is an icon.
Yeah, and his theme song is one of the best of all time.
I mean, how many of us went and bought leather jackets because of that film?
Well, I didn't buy one until much recently when I started my cosplaying hobby.
I have a replica Indiana Jones hat from 1980, whatever.
I've got a bullwhip because of that.
See?
So, I mean, it solidified kind of like, I think, people's love affair with that kind of action movie.
Yeah, and that's an action film. That's a serial action film.
Because it was like, I don't know, like the recreation, to be able to recreate like the movie stuff at Disney World, like where they do the
stunt spectacular,
yeah,
it's not spectacular, like that like replaying of that type of action sequence, and it just, I don't know, I love Indiana Jones.
I mean, I mean, and it's spawned a franchise, it spawned a TV show. You know? I mean, how many of us still remember young Indiana Jones?
I've never seen an episode.
It's actually a really good.
Flannery.
Yeah,
never seen it.
Oh, I think you'd love it, especially when they do it.
It was pretty good.
Teenage Indy was actually pretty good when he was in the First World War. That was actually pretty good.
I wouldn't mind checking it out. Plus, that's one of the ways that Catherine Zeta-Jones got her role in The Mask of Zorro, was because she worked with Spielberg on the Young Indiana Jones show.
I didn't know that.
She made a cameo. Yeah, she was a guest star on one of the episodes of Young Indiana Jones. I'm like, oh, Catherine, that's how you were discovered. I like it.
I have to go back and watch those now.
Yeah, she was in it, man. She played a princess character of some kind.
My friend Sean Clark, he is a fellow comic convention rep. He reps celebrities and stuff for conventions, and his client is Sean Patrick Flanery. He actually has everybody from the Boondock Saints, and so they were at MegaCon one year. We met Sean Patrick Flanery.
Super
nice guy. Like, especially with, like, kids and stuff and all that.
But also, talk about a guy who's grateful that he's able to come to these things and people still give a shit about him, though, because he had some serious problems.
Oh yeah, he had some problems. Yeah. So
now,
moving on.
Not to eclipse Indiana Jones and my love for Indiana Jones, but the next one in 1982 is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which we just watched
two nights ago.
Tuesday?
Yeah, because Oliver was afraid of the storm.
So the thunderstorm came through, and he's like, "Mommy, come watch E.T. with me." And I ended up watching E.T. all by myself because he told me it was too sad.
Phone home.
I was 18 when that
we got reunited with.
Man, I haven't seen E.T. in so long. It's been like 300 years since I've sat down and actually watched that movie. It's been forever.
Last time I saw E.T. was 1982. I do not care for that film.
I guess it's because it was my childhood, but like, I guess part of the whole thing was it spawned the careers of we got to see Dee Wallace again. And I love Henry Thomas, even though he disappeared for a very long time.
Yeah. And then he did a commercial.
It's part of the career of Drew Barrymore, which, as a child actor, even though she had a lot of problems, she's the only one that kind of managed to salvage her career. And
also remember she comes from Hollywood royalty. Okay. What, third or fourth generation actor? Yeah. Okay. I mean,
and
she's got
not just actor, but like the family, like just involved in Hollywood in general.
Exactly. So she's got a lot of things she's got a good tailwind going her way. You know? I mean, you want to talk about privilege.
You said the last time that you saw E.T. was when it came out. But I think you'll agree. Talk about an iconic score. Again, John Williams.
I'm not disputing that one bit. But yeah, I didn't care for the story.
So, I think maybe like because I was a kid and because it was at sometimes scary. Like, I didn't see it in 1982. I was only 2. So
you young whippersnappers.
Keep in mind, I also didn't have cable until I was 25. So
we're all young, Jerome. It's just a number.
But I was watching it at 4 and 5 on VHS, and
I still got some of those.
There were times where it was pretty scary. It was scary to go outside and not know what was in your shed, and it was it was funny to watch them keep it from their mom.
I still remember what that VHS looks like. I mean, it's black, but it has the little green thing.
It's green across the side. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the image of him flying on the bicycle, that's become iconic, and it's his it's the trademark of his company now.
Amblin Entertainment. That's Amblin.
But I mean, what's interesting though is sit down with E.T., but watch Close Encounters first. They kind of go together.
Yeah.
And again, it's another film that's only made for like almost $11 million.
Jeez.
I mean, it was the largest grossing film at one time of all time at once.
Yeah. And to jump off a little bit here, I'm looking at production budgets of these films. And a person that I love watching, John Campea, he always talks about how Hollywood doesn't need to spend $150 million, $200 million to make, good movies.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm looking at the returns. I mean, E.T. was made for 10.5 million, and it made 435.1 million
at the time.
at the time.
Yeah.
So like, why
money.
does Hollywood feel the need these days to spend so much money? Because this is where we end up, and I'm gonna move on to movies that tanked.
There's two reasons why. Okay, the two reasons why they're spending so much money. One is the actors are demanding more. You want a name, you got to pay for it. So, I'm surprised that Hollywood isn't using more unknowns.
Please, they need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent out there that doesn't have a name that would love to work for them for a lot less than what somebody else is getting. The other thing is over reliance on CGI.
Fair
Okay,
point.
you go back. I mean, some of the best CGI I saw recently, and I can't remember which film it was, where they used CGI to enhance the models. Okay, the models look great. They added a little CGI to get the edges a little smoother, and whatever. It was one of the space films. I don't even remember what I was watching. But that's the point. Over reliance on everything being CGI. Okay, go back to models. You'll be fine.
Well, I think CGI is a good tool, but when you overuse it, that's where it becomes a problem.
But I think everything in moderation. That's the one thing. And we've grown so much in what we can do with movie makeup and other effects,
practical effects, like makeup and stuff.
We've proven that practical effects are still practical, and they're still fun, and they're still, we'll still go see movies even if it's not like that. But we talked too about a lot of times movies mirror what's going on in the public eye. So this is 1982 was after the Watergate era, it was post Watergate era. So we found out that the government wasn't really a good entity, and they were kind of out for whatever. And so in the whole end of the movie is they storm their house like crazy spacemen, and we're just people trying to get this poor little alien back home, give it a break. But it was that government entity being this very, shady.
Yeah. I mean, that had been building for a while, since the UFO craze of the 1970s. Okay. And again, we're reaching a culmination of it thing. Here we also have in 82, we've got basically the second year of Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
Yes.
Who's vice president? Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Jane Wyman was the first lady, and then Jack Benny became Secretary of the Treasury.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Appreciate the drum roll, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
thank you.
He's here all day. Don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses. Try the veal. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you look at what with ET, there was a lot of that was cultural. I mean, unfortunately, that was also the era of the big bomb film too. So there was a film there that they thought was going to make a lot of money, and it didn't, and it bombed, and now it became a cult classic. So, in case you're wondering, that's Clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because they were still using
stop motion animation. Yeah. No, that was the last of the motion animation that that wasn't comedy.
And a big name
I
cast.
feel
too.
bad that that's not my kind of movie, but okay.
But you're not really into the whole sword and sorcery type thing.
Oh, there you
sword
go,
and
man.
I am, but not I don't know. Just not.
It's called a sword and sandal film.
Sword and
Sword and
sandals.
sandal, yeah.
Sword and sandals, people. Look them up. There's
Sword
a lot
and
of them out
sorcery
there.
is totally different.
Okay, that's more like fantasy. Okay.
I mean, that film had a huge marketing, and it just bombed horribly. They
Yeah.
thought that was. We talked earlier about attempted blockbusters. That was one of those failed attempted blockbusters.
Wow. Man,
But
that
it's got a cult following.
that had Harry Hamlin, and Ursula Andress was in that, who was the OG Bond girl from Doctor
Oh
No.
yeah,
You had
Oh, yeah.
was Laurence Olivier in that?
yeah, he was Zeus.
Jeez, it's like you have a big fish of a cast, but just doesn't work out sometimes.
Yeah.
At least they released the Kraken.
Yeah.
They did release the
you can
Kraken
get
in both movies.
You can get that in a fifth now.
That's right.
I actually have a whole
We
thing of
have
Kraken.
Oh, do you? Congratulations.
pretty
Liam Neeson
powerful.
would be very proud of you, Brian.
It's some powerful. It's a powerful rum.
It's a great vodka. Oh no, that's the rum. That's right. That's the rum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sing it.
There you go. Liam
So-
Neeson's proud of both of you.
So what else we got?
Yeah, there's like
And then
50 other years we're going
19
to talk about, right, Brian?
Yeah.
1983
Oh, boy.
ushers in again the year of Star Wars. That's Return of
It's
the
just
Jedi.
film because the less said about Ewoks, the better.
Oh my god! Why do they get so much hate? I don't
Because they were
understand.
supposed to be Wookiees,
Yeah,
and the
they were.
studio wouldn't pay for it, even though they knew that film was going to make a boatload of money.
I'm
Okay.
okay with a Wookiee substitute.
They have guys in
would've
teddy
not-
bear suits.
Anyway,
Yeah, imagine if that had been Wookiees. What that fight on Endor would have looked like. That would have been much more impressive.
It would have been a much bigger fight with a lot of bigger carpets getting out of my way.
Well, you know,
But
I just thought they were cute.
well, it's funny though because this is always brought up that the Ewoks do look cute, but they were savages.
They're-
they
Yeah,
ate
but-
the stormtroopers.
They're angry.
Yeah, but here's the thing: when you look back on that movie and you see how easily those stormtroopers were defeated by little,
Thank
it's
you.
like I still like Return of the Jedi, but not nearly as much as I did 25 years ago. Because when I
exactly.
watch it now, it's like, how can you little, 2 to 3 feet nothing, beat down a stormtrooper who's wearing good armor, by the way, and a blaster that can easily take your eyes out? It's like, how
Yeah.
does that work?
Because stormtroopers are bad shots, and don't just call us out because we're small.
I mean, I'm just saying.
No, but if you look at the level of technology,
the
Ewoks
stormtroopers are
could've
so
been
technologically advanced.
3 guys could have wiped out the entire planet of Ewoks.
I'm
True.
just saying, don't count out the little people.
Not-
Don't count us out just
Well,
because
we
we're
get the
short.
message that George
No.
was sending with that movie, but at the same time, it's like, dude, Ewoks taking out stormtroopers in 2 seconds, that would never happen in a real movie, in real life.
Yeah.
It would never
Curious.
happen.
Would you rather be a red shirt or a stormtrooper?
I'd rather be a stormtrooper, quite frankly. But,
Red shirt,
sorry,
'cause I
I
know
grew
the-
up on the wars, not the Treks. Okay?
I'm a trekker.
The hate, that's
I
fine.
don't
It's
even
fine.
understand the reference.
when-
I'm not a Star Trek girl.
That's what I'm
Never
saying.
will be.
Some people grew
If
up on
you-
the
on
wars,
Star Trek,
aka
you're
Star
doing
Wars, and
the
some people grew up on
Red
Star
shirt,
Trek.
you're pretty much dead.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
But anyway, if
You
I
were
were to
wrong.
rank the OG trilogy, Return of the Jedi would be last.
whatever. Because I'm.
Of the original 3.
Yeah, of the original 3. Not the whole franchise, but of the original 3,
I
Return of the
agree.
Jedi
I
is
agree
number
with you.
3.
I agree. But all right, so I mean, so here we have Star Wars, okay, and then after 83, Star Wars disappears for how long?
15 years. Or no, 16.
Right.
16 years. 16 years. Because
Well,
it's
then
83
they-
to 93, and then 99
so-
was 6 more, so it was 16.
Yeah, but they did the re-release with the
Oh,
when
the
they
special
did the
editions.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
was there
that-
for those in the
that-
theater.
And that was a huge blockbuster. Those they are out for a month, and they made a boatload of money on that.
And I was there for every single one of them.
Han shot first.
We know.
Okay, just making sure we got that out there.
There are T-shirts that say that now. So yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Han shot first.
And that's why we love him to this day.
Because he
Oh,
shoots first
shit.
and asks questions later.
so to kind of move this along, so we can
He's a
get,
renegade.
so we can get through the rest of the show here.
Okay, so I think we've talked about a good handful. Well, maybe not, but 84 was Ghostbusters, 85 was Back to the Future, 86 was Top Gun. So we've kind of touched on all of them in some way, shape, or form.
Some good
Maybe
years.
before we went live, but Ghostbusters is probably solidified iconically by everything, so much so that they needed to remake it.
Yep, I'm waiting for the new one. I'm waiting for the new one.
Cast
I'm
was
actually looking
stupid.
forward to that.
I am looking.
Oh,
for,
Afterlife. I am looking forward to Afterlife.
I mean, Paul
but-
Rudd. I mean, come on.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't see Paul Rudd. I just see some guy named Scott Lang. That's all I see. But he's a great actor. Don't get me wrong. He's a good actor. I mean, I remember him from the 90s in Clueless, okay?
Yeah.
But when I look at him, all I see is Scott Lang. And that's not a bad thing. It's not. Because he's good at what he does.
I'm just
Well,
curious.
considering he hasn't aged in the last 20 years.
I'm just
25
curious,
years,
Brian,
actually. But yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
what Paul? I'm gonna see if you know this. What was Paul Rudd's first movie?
What? I don't know. The only thing that comes to mind is Clueless.
Actually, it was Halloween.
The original?
Halloween 6.
Oh, Halloween Part 6
Oh,
of the 600,000 sequels and reboots that nobody asked for that they made for. Okay.
Yeah. The film was released as Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers.
Oh, that one, man. Well, hey, you know what? Every actor or actress has to start somewhere. So, good
Well,
on you, Paul
Nightmare on
Rudd.
Elm Street gave us Johnny Depp,
Oh, hey, Nightmare on Elm Street, great horror
And of course, the
film. Great
original
horror
Halloween
film,
gave us
and
Jamie.
Halloween gave us Jamie Lee Curtis. So,
Yeah.
which is the daughter of Janet Leigh, the queen of Scream and Psycho.
Yep.
so we all start somewhere.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
Ghostbusters, huge pop culture. Like Ghostbusters, like Star Wars, and the horror movies before, talked about in films and TV shows.
Yeah,
There's always references.
Cartoons.
Animated series. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of them.
I have to bring this up.
Oh, really? He was in Critters 3? I've never seen a Critters film.
You haven't missed much.
I've never seen a Critter. What was that other movie that was similar to Critters? Troll. I've never seen the Troll movies.
Troll, yeah.
Or Leprechaun. I've never seen those either.
Leprechaun gave us Jennifer Aniston, I think, is what that one.
Is that right? My goodness.
So, we said 85 was Back to the Future.
Heck yeah, it was. Just turned 35 years young, people.
So what do we got? We got Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3 plus the cartoon.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. We got Back to the Future, the ride.
Right. I've actually never been on the ride.
Neither have I.
But I mean, Back to the Future, Dad. Ghostbusters has spawned fan clubs where guys run around dressed like Ghostbusters.
They go to and stuff. Yeah.
So Ghostbusters is, the first one was phenomenal. It came out of nowhere, to be honest. Okay, There was some advertising, but I remember thinking, okay, yeah, this looks kind of fun. I'll go see it, whatever, that summer, because I got nothing to do. And literally, it came. Nobody expected anything of it when they saw it. All the people I was with, and this thing just exploded out of nowhere. I mean, to this day, when we were quoting from that film, also, I mean, this man has no dick. I mean, we all say that.
The power grid was shut off by what.
Dan Aykroyd write Ghostbusters, or was
him and Harold Ramis, I think, wrote it.
Yeah, they were co-writers, co-producers. Yeah,
and that re-energized Murphy's and Aykroyd's careers. Because Bill Murray was, he was kind of going downhill. If you watch, some of the films, and then suddenly Ghostbusters came in, and now he can demand whatever he wanted.
Yeah, back off, man. I'm a scientist. My uncle thought he was Saint Jerome. I'd say that's a big yes.
But I think part of that is that we were big fans of certain things that they did before that. Like,
right.
I mean, I think our parents were, and so I think that's probably why we saw the movies.
Like, I love SNL, so
like,
man, I remember watching him on SNL. That's how old I am.
Oh,
I've rewatched a lot of SNL probably when it was in its heyday, but I knew Bill Murray from all of the Caddyshack and other things.
Right.
Like
finally saw that recently.
My house.
Meatballs.
Cinderella Story, come out of nowhere.
What about the Twinkie?
Right. Morning, no. What was the fucking?
What was the expression? Right? Dropping off or picking up? Dropping off. Annie Potts, anybody?
Oh, you know what? You really want to see Annie Potts? Go watch Corvette Summer with Mark Hamill.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Ooh.
I got to look this one up. I've never heard of this one.
And Jerome, I'm about to make you feel good here. You're not that old. I mean, you're not much older than we are. You said, how old were you when the original Star Wars came out?
13-ish.
I wasn't even a thought in people's minds.
You got like 14, 15 years on us. That's not that old.
Like we said, Brian, it's just a number.
But in the whole scheme of things, really, like now that I'm 40, I feel like literally I have to look at myself and say 1990. Well, that was only 10. No.
Happy 21st birthday, by the way.
I mean, it was like 20 years ago. So I think it's hard for us to render, like when something was old or not. Cause I'm like, I don't feel old. I just,
I'm on 18 years right now of my divorce to my first wife. And I'm kind of going, it's been that long?
Gee
So,
whiz,
you know.
man, gee whiz.
Yeah. So we talk about Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Top
Great
Gun,
Scott.
Top Gun, and then '87.
Wait, Top Gun, we got to realize one iconic scene that is constantly talked about, nonstop, and that's the volleyball game.
And Top Gun, yeah.
Yeah, my wife constantly talks about the volleyball game.
With Kenny Loggins playing with the boys, playing in the background.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
there's also the scene where they're at the training, and Kelly McGillis is teaching, and he's got the shades. And,
Oh, dude, the Ray-Bans. Oh,
and then
Oh, yeah.
the whole he was inverted. You
I
know,
just happened to see a MiG-28 do a 4G negative dive. How could? Well, if you were directly above him, how could you see him? Because I was
Well, we
inverted.
were,
No,
he's like, you know, we gave him
he was
the
really
invert.
inverted. It's a good move. The guy was inverted. What were you doing
But
there?
this was also practically, this was practically a recruiting film for the Navy.
Oh,
Yeah.
recruiting jumped like 500% when the
It
movie
did.
came out.
Huge.
True story. And sales of Ray-Bans jumped like 300%.
Buddy of
And
mine tells me
guaranteed.
that's why he joined the Navy, was he went and saw the when he saw Top Gun.
Yeah,
There
and
you
you
go.
know, I was living in San Diego when this movie was filmed because that's where I grew up.
So
So
you were on set
I was
every day?
very familiar with Miramar.
So you were on set. You were living the American dream that every young kid wanted to be with, which is being on set during the making of Top Gun.
I'm trying to maybe I was 6, so
Jeez.
He didn't even know.
Man.
He was-
Wow. You know, we got to send somebody from this squadron to Miramar, and we got to give you your dream shot,
I
Brian.
met him, by the way.
Oh, you met James Tolkien?
Yeah, I was one of his handlers at a convention.
How is he?
Nicest guy in the world.
I got to meet Principal Strickland and his commanding officer. I got to meet those two. God.
Yeah,
Got to meet that guy. Oh, James Tolkien, where are you?
nicest guy. Upstate New York is where he lives.
Oh, really? Can you write me a note that says you got real attitude problem, McFly? You're a slacker.
He actually signs autograph like that, slacker. He
Dude,
calls
I
people
love
slacker.
that. I want him to look at me and say, "This is tardy number for you, Mr. Ryan. I believe that makes 4 in a row. Let me give you a nickel's worth of free advice, young man." I'm sorry. Can we just do a quote off one day on this show? We need to do a quote off, seriously.
I'm gonna suck at that. Like I know him afterwards.
I think
but-
Jerome and I would do pretty good.
There we go. Oh, yeah. Let's get. Oh, yeah,
I'm
okay,
gonna
I'm
be
ready.
out of town that weekend.
okay. So as we go into '87, we have another SNL alumni, Eddie Murphy with Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah, that film actually did better than the first one, and actually was a better film than the first one, to be honest.
Really? Man,
And
I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen 2 and 3.
And nobody talks about 3. Nobody talks about number 3.
And what's the third one?
Yeah, there was a third one, and
There is
yeah,
a
you-
trilogy.
don't want to even talk about it.
And talk about the score is well, the theme is iconic,
The theme is like
but the soundtrack was great.
Glenn Fry, what sisters?
Was Kenny Loggins?
Kenny Loggins was there. Sister Sledge. I mean, you're talking about iconic '80s music. The first 2 Beverly Hills Cops films. You want a soundtrack of '80s music? Just watch those 2 films.
yeah.
And I don't think it was from this one. Well, he did repeat the joke in this one, but from the first one, he's like, "Ain't nobody talking about a damn banana peel in the tailpipe."
Yeah, that got a number of people's careers started. Also, you
I
know,
seriously think that he was funnier back then.
Axel
he was.
Foley.
He was.
I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but I think that a lot of them were funnier back then because we got away with a lot more in comedy back then.
Yeah.
We were allowed to cross some lines in the 80s.
Well, and they weren't so afraid of just laughing at something that they knew was a stereotype. Like they weren't afraid of being laughing at something that was a stereotype, which is what makes it funny. And being called a name for it. Like,
Well, who was it? Who was it that got the He was in Perfect something Cousins, a TV show, and he actually got his start on the Beverly Hills Cops 1.
Oh, no kidding.
Balky, he played Balky on the show.
That was
Yeah.
Perfect Strangers.
Bronson Penn Show.
Yeah, that's where he got his start, was on Beverly Hills Cop 1.
Oh,
He
no
got his
kidding.
big break from there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He was the
art
yeah,
guy.
the art.
Oh, don't be silly. Of course we can.
Oh man.
Okay, you want to go
That's
against
really
the other one, Ryan? I mean,
his character on Perfect Strangers, to be honest.
Mm.
so I mean, we'll do the quote off, Ryan. You and me.
One of these days, we got to do it on the show, and we just quote all these different scenes from all these different movies. It could be 80s, 90s. It doesn't matter. Like I've seen so many at this point.
I go back to the 30s, pal. So you know.
Oh, the 30s. Okay, I remember 2 movies from the. Well, actually 3 or 4. You had the Universal monster movies, and then you had Gone with the Wind. I don't think it was that good. And Wizard of Oz with the legendary Judy Garland and company. So.
Casablanca, man, Casablanca. You need to watch that film.
No. Casablanca is one of my all-time favorite movies, but it came out in the 40s, not the 30s.
41. No, it came out.
But it is a 40s movie.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I'm conceding the point, is what I'm saying. I'm just saying it came out 2 weeks after Pearl Harbor.
Oh, wow. But Casablanca is one of my all-time favorite films. There's no. I mean, Ingrid Bergman. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Bogey, Louie, beginning of a beautiful friendship. Get out of here. It's awesome. Anyway, are we talking about the 30s, Brian? No, wait, we're talking about the 80s. Yeah, because some of us were actually born and existing in the 80s, such as this guy. I was born at the tail end of it, but still, I digress.
1988.
Oh, I was born the year before that. Wonderful. Okay.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh boy, that movie is creepy when you're a kid. Ooh, is that movie creepy? That'll give you nightmares.
That was even as I mean, I was in my 20s and I saw that film, and that was a weird film.
It's a twisted movie, man. Christopher Lloyd going all devilish with those daggers out of his eyes. Good Lord.
But it was fun, man. For fans of Warner Brothers cartoons, man, that was a fun film. You know?
Oh yeah. And what was it? Daffy and the other duck. Daffy and Donald Duck were beating the heck out of each other in a piano playing contest. Yep. Betty Boop was serving you drinks, scotch on the rocks, and I mean ice.
Yeah.
Oh no, she had cigarettes.
Yeah, and Kathleen Turner, she wasn't bad. She was just drawn that way.
Yep.
So, a lot of people. I've seen a few people cosplay as Jessica Rabbit at conventions. I'm not going to lie. That's how big of an influence that film had, kids.
I was fortunate. I had a chance to meet the guy who wrote the book.
Really?
Yeah, and I asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, Hollywood treated him really, really well." He said, unlike some people, they don't get treated well once they get the rights to it. He said the people that did Roger Rabbit, always were really good to him. He said, So.
It wasn't my kind of movie. I didn't like it. I didn't like it in '88 when I saw it. I didn't get it then, and I don't like it now.
I mean,
it's kind of funny, but it's not something I'm going to run back and rewatch constantly.
No.
Right. And
I mean, seriously, we're all like Eddie Valiant in the middle of the movie. He looks at his bottle, drinking whiskey, whatever it is, and he says, "Tunes." takes a giant swig of whatever it was that he drank. Didn't you used to be Eddie Valiant? Now I hear your new name is Jack Daniels.
Now, in that same year, I'm not sure if it came out in the summer, but it was the highest grossing film of that year, which was Rain Man.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
oh yeah.
Charlie Babbitt, counting cards, getting rich in Vegas.
Yep.
Gotta go back to Kmart.
What was it? 5 minutes to Wapner. 5 minutes to Wapner.
5 minutes to Wapner.
5 minutes to
That's
Wapner.
right.
And then you get a young Valeria Golino, who later went on to be in Hot Shots with Charlie Sheen as the love interest for Tom Cruise's character.
Yep.
It's a true story, kids.
It was one of the last movies I saw Tom Cruise in.
But that was also one of the.
It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it was a really good movie. But it was also one of the last dramatic films that weren't an action film that I think was the last one before as a blockbuster.
Yeah.
I mean, So.
Yeah. Taught people how to count cards in Vegas, make some good money. Just saying.
So, in 1989, we get Batman.
We get the golden age of life, my man. 89, you had so many flavors of the week. It was awesome. You had Tim Burton's Batman. You capped off a trilogy because the fourth one never happened with Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, arguably one of the greatest action-adventure films ever made in the history of mankind. I mean, and you had Back to the Future Part 2. What more can anyone ask? Seriously, you had 3 flavors of the month, man.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, one of the things that was interesting about that Batman film was there was some minor disappointment as to how Jack handled the Joker.
I thought he was fine, quite frankly.
I thought he was fine too. But remember, people were expecting Jack to be wicked over the top more so than what he was.
They thought they were looking for Cesar Romero.
I didn't want Cesar Romero. I wanted Jack.
They were looking for Jack from all the crazy films that he had done. They
Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Exactly. They were looking for Cuckoo's Nest and
Shining.
Easy Rider, The Shining, all of those films. They were looking for that Jack. If you look at the Joker on that film, he's actually kind of restrained. As Jokers that we've come to know. And
he still killed a guy with a handshake.
Oh, I know that, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is at the time, people were. I mean, that movie made a boatload of money. It redefined the Batman franchise.
So,
I mean, and I remember that was the first film I ever saw, other than Raiders, that had not Raiders, other than Jedi, where people were around the block for.
Batmania.
Yeah,
it
Prince
was everywhere.
You have the Prince album, that where he did Batman. I have it.
Party Man.
Yeah.
I wonder
around
though.
A museum.
I wonder if during that time, because Jack Nicholson was already really, known for playing all these really out of over the top characters. I wonder if even though Tim Burton does tend to helm movies with over the top characers.
I mean, Jack though was the biggest name in that movie.
I wonder, but I wonder if it wasn't to overshadow, like it was to play them equally, so that one didn't, like they could each kind of hold their own in the world. Where
if you look at the media at the time, you look at the media at the time, a couple of years before when they would announce that they were doing the Batman film. Okay. Immediately the question came up of who was the Joker, and every fanboy at every convention I went to, immediately it was Jack Nicholson. There was nobody else even being talked about in the fan community. Okay, that Jack was going to have to be the Joker. Now, in interviews with Jack later on, they talk about how he and God, I can't think of his name now. Batman, there, Bruce Wayne,
Michael Keaton.
Thank you, Keaton. They were both sitting in the makeup chair together. And Keaton was this young upstart. He'd just come off of Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah.
And he's listening to Jack like the smart young kid that he was at the time. And Jack is leaning back and goes, "Kid, sometimes you just got to let the makeup do the job." And that was how Jack approached it, was the makeup was going to do a lot of his carrying for this film.
Yeah, and Keaton was announced as Batman because
there was
people were rioting. They wanted him off the set. They wanted to fire him and get rid of him.
5'9" comedian is going to be Batman.
Right, and I will be the first. I was one of those people who thought that was a bad choice, and I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. It was a good choice. He did really good Batman. Yeah,
love that movie. Pieces. I will defend it to my dying breath.
I always thought Michael Keaton was a good actor, like before Batman. Like I love Gung Ho. I think that movie was hilarious. Mr. Mom.
In my life.
I mean, Beetlejuice, he was pretty good in.
He did a semi, like I want to say it was before Batman, semi-action like drama called One Good Cop.
Yes, but it faded into the woodwork real fast. But
I think that every time there's an argument about who is going to be the character, it's whether they can fill the shoes. And I think that they only saw Keaton as a comedic actor, and so they didn't see him as somebody that could play a more dramatic kind of like broody role. And they did the same thing with Chris Evans. They did the same thing with Heath Ledger. I mean, like they've done it with people all across time, is that they get pigeonholed into an area where they figure they're just going to be that type of person.
Well, the concern with Keaton is that he just come off of Beetlejuice, Gung Ho, Mr. Dad. Those were Mr. Mom. I mean, those were all comedy roles. Okay, and the fans, after having had the Dark Knight Returns comic book come out in year
Frank
one, Miller stuff, people wanted the darker Batman. Okay, they didn't want Adam West. Now we all love Adam West and what he did was great. Okay, well, but the concern was we're going to get another Adam West. Okay, if you look at the fact that Keaton was as a known comedic actor into a dramatic role, suddenly you're going, yeah, we got Adam West.
But then maybe that's why Jack Nicholson didn't play it over the top like he would have, because they were already trying to make a mockery of what was going to be,
right.
You know.
But again, I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. Okay, Keaton pulled it off, and
beautifully, I might add.
The second one, in my opinion, was even better.
I like Batman Returns more.
Yeah,
and I don't get that, but okay.
And Keaton did do a bit of comedy as Bruce Wayne, but he was more serious as Batman.
Yeah, but the Bruce Wayne comedy was more deadpan, darker.
And he didn't even have to change up his voice either. He was the same voice for both characters. He was fine as Bruce Wayne, and then when he got nuts, come on, let's get nuts. I mean, if you're not smiling during that scene, you're out of your mind. And if you're not approving of the movie, as soon as he grabs that guy by the collar and says, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me. What are you? I'm Batman. Throws the guy. I mean, as soon as that scene happened, the first time I saw that, I was like, take all my money. I want to see this guy play this role to the end of his days. He was so good.
I agree, Ryan. I was the same way.
You guys are like savant level, like with these quotes. Like you're kind of scaring me a little.
Well, we should be scaring you because our level of knowledge is at an incredible level that no human mind should be able to withstand. But Jerome and I can handle it.
Look,
Jerome over here has a few decades on me, but hey, I'm learning quick too.
Like I said, I've gotten stupider. The older I get, the dumber I get, and it's because the children have sucked all my brain power. They're like little zombies.
No, Ryan, she is right. Having just one, I can understand what she's saying.
Yeah.
I have two, and I've raised three.
See?
And I have thousands of other people's children.
This is why you need to strengthen the coffee.
Every single day, Nicole. Do it. Do it.
Alcohol doesn't make me smarter.
Yeah, we need to do a Reels and Heels quote show, Brian. So put that down for next month. You also need to write down movie scores for next month. That's a good topic for you right there.
Yeah,
composers
and stuff, right?
Yeah,
movie composers. You can write that. I mean, we could put that in if you want.
I'll bring all the albums up to show you which ones I have.
Jerome has visual props during the show.
Actual vinyl.
Oh, actual vinyl. Okay, see, I like Jerome even more now. See, he gets it.
Jerome is like your mom. He has a huge vinyl collection.
Hey, I hope to inherit some of those.
I'm inheriting my father's, and oh my God, the stuff my father has.
Are they like in good condition? Because some of them are worth lots of money.
My dad has an Ella Fitzgerald live album where she forgets the words to Mac the Knife.
Get out of here.
Oh
yeah, the album was recalled. He's still got it.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That's gotta be worth some form of coin.
Yeah. My dad has some of the early 45 or did have some of the early 45s of Elvis, Johnny Cash, from Sun Records.
Nice.
I don't know what happened to those. I gotta find those.
I hope you find them someday.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1990.
Oh man.
The biggest blockbuster was Ghost.
Yep.
It got Whoopi her Oscar.
Yes, it did.
And there was the iconic pottery scene, of course.
Yeah, and the lovey-dovey song that was playing during the pottery scene.
Yeah. A lot of macho guys suddenly got into pottery.
Macho guys.
But
a lot of macho. They thought they were going to get lucky with their girlfriends, so they got into pottery.
Well, and it was kind of like the return of Patrick Swayze, kind of like that kind of
romantic vibe.
For me, like Patrick Swayze always kind of exuded sex. Like I don't know.
Well, he did it in Dirty Dancing, and he pretty much did it in what was the other one? Red Dawn and Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Roadhouse.
He was a tough guy. He was quiet. He was sexy, and
I actually enjoyed Roadhouse. I just saw it recently. It's a good movie. I liked it.
Roadhouse.
But
Roadhouse also Sam Elliott in it too.
This also got Demi Moore her career break too. Yeah. I mean, she'd done some films. She was known as a brat packer.
Oh, that's right, because she did St. Elmo's Fire.
Right, and then suddenly now she's into a level of getting what she wants for movies.
Very dramatic roles too.
Well, didn't she do after this? She did G.I. Jane and Striptease, didn't she?
Yeah.
Those came a little bit later in the 90s because she did A Few Good Men in 92.
Yeah, 92. Yeah.
Which was a masterpiece of a film. I'm just going to say that. I think A Few Good Men is one of the best dramas
You
ever
can't
made.
handle the truth.
Exactly. The Joker was in that movie. Jack Nicholson was in it.
Yeah.
And Maverick was the lead counsel. Maverick was Lieutenant Caffey.
But also, it's funny because the star that I remember the most from this movie is the guy who tries to step into the relationship. The blonde guy, because he ended up being the villain in almost everything after that. Like he was the quintessential bad guy.
What was his name? Tony.
That's I got to go see him.
Tony Good.
Was it Tony Goodwin?
Something.
Tony Goldwyn?
Hang on a second here.
I just remember his face.
He's a good actor too. He's been in some other stuff. Gifted actor, but he was a horrible human being in that movie.
Oh, he was. He was terrible.
By the way, does anyone agree that the best line in that movie is when he looks at the guy who just got killed and he says, "You're dead, Willie"? Does anyone remember that scene? Those
that's right.
things coming out of the car and like grabbing him and taking him to H-Town. It's like, woo, I do not want that to happen to me in the afterlife. Just saying. That was the precursor to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It was. It's the precursor.
And this was also the movie that opened with the second highest domestic gross that year was Home Alone.
Oh, because it came out in November.
Yeah.
Came out in November.
Is that a Chris Columbus film, or
that was one of it? Yeah, that was one of his second or third directorial effort, because his first one was the Elizabeth Shue wonderful comedy known as Adventures in Babysitting.
Oh, I love that. I fell in love with Elizabeth Shue.
I think everybody fell in love with Elizabeth Shue in the 80s. I'm just saying. Hello, I was one of them.
Whenever I'm going to fall in love with Elizabeth Shue again.
All over again.
She's done other things since then.
She was in something. She wasn't in a movie. She was in a TV show. Between this, and was like,
it was about the military. Hang on a minute here. I know which one it is.
Back, right.
It was done in the 60s too.
Elizabeth Shue. She did everything. She was in Adventures in Babysitting. She was Jennifer in Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, due to Claudia Wells' family emergency that she couldn't get away from. Mm-hmm. She was in The House at the End of the Street with Jennifer Lawrence a couple years ago.
She was in the Karate Kid.
Oh, dude, so good in The Karate Kid. So
Cocktail.
Good. Oh yes, Tom Cruise's love interest in Cocktail.
Back to the Future Part 2 and 3. Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right. I need to see that movie, man. That's what got my boy Nick his Oscar. I gotta see that movie.
Let's see here. What else?
See, I'm friends with a lot of these people, Brian. You need to call me more about this.
Okay.
Just saying. But yeah, I gotta see Leaving Las Vegas. She was in everything, man. Elizabeth Shue's had a heck of a career. She was in CSI for Pete's sake for the last.
Oh yeah, I know. Years.
She made that show better because she's Elizabeth freaking Shue. She can do anything.
Wasn't that the same seasons that Ted Danson?
That's right. The guy from Cheers, Sam Malone, baby. See, Brian, you know your history.
Well, they lost because they lost
Grissom.
So they had to have somebody with equal charisma to bring people in.
Yeah, Grissom left, and then Georgia Fox left for a little bit. Then she came back. Yeah, there was. What was the other guy? Lawrence Fishburne was there for a while, and then he left.
She's in The Boys?
Yes.
Oh, she is in The Boys. She plays the head of the agency.
Yeah. I got to go watch that now because I really wasn't going to watch it now.
It's so good.
Yeah, because season 2 is about to come out.
Greyhound,
I think it is.
She's in Greyhound, too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
That's the Apple movie. It's on Apple.
Apple TV Plus, actually. But yes.
Yeah. Not a movie.
Yeah, you got to pay $50 just to watch it. That's a ripoff.
No, you don't. It's free.
Oh, it is free. Okay.
Yeah, you just have to be a subscriber to Apple TV Plus, which is $4.99 a month.
Not too shabs. Hmm.
I'm unemployed. I'm not doing any streaming services right now.
Exactly.
I swear the only reason I've seen half these movies is because you've made me watch them.
Boy, that doesn't sound like a really ringing endorsement, Brian.
My wife is the same way. She hasn't seen half the films that I've made her sit down. She's like, I would never have watched this if you hadn't made me watch it.
I just tend to be more inclined to TV, and I don't know. I don't know. I need I'm getting stupider in my old age, so I need shorter spans of attention.
So you want to talk about 91 and 92?
Okay, so I don't want to talk about 91. I don't give a crap about 91. Sorry.
Depends what movie we talking about, because I was alive during this.
Terminator 2.
90s is my flavor, so it depends on what movie you're talking about.
1991 was Terminator 2.
Okay, good movie. Very influential on special effects. I'll give it that. But between you and me, the Terminator 84 is way better than Terminator 2. Sorry. That's the best film of that franchise. I like Terminator 2, but Terminator 1 is king. Plus, I met Michael Biehn at a convention. Nice dude. Anyway, what was 92?
And 92
is Batman
Returns.
Which, to me, is the lesser of the two Tim Burton films. It's not a Batman movie. To me, it's a Tim Burton movie, not a Batman film.
Well,
but it was good to see Michael Keaton come back.
I think maybe that's why I enjoyed it. And I liked watching him with Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought that they had good chemistry in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Good Catwoman.
I don't even remember Christopher Walken being in that movie.
I don't even know why he was in this movie. He was in a different movie than everyone else because he was just playing himself.
Yeah.
He's always in a different movie than everybody else.
Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Good stuff, not gonna lie.
So 1993 was Jurassic Park. And I think there's a lot of love for this movie. So
yeah.
Well, it's the only movie in the franchise because it's not a franchise to me. None of the sequels and spin-offs ever happened.
I did not see this one in 1993, which was a surprise to Brian. But I wasn't seeing a lot of movies then, and this wasn't one that we could ever have agreed on at my house, so it wasn't one that we saw.
Okay.
But I think a lot of iconic things came from Jurassic Park, like a lot of really iconic imagery, but also iconic music and iconic lines too.
A lot of memes.
But
a lot of memes. Clever girl.
Life. You got thoughts in here. See? Who cares?
The funny thing is though is that girl in that film actually was a very positive role model for women, especially for young girls who wanted to get into computers and stuff like that. I've talked to a lot of people in the industry, especially the women, who said that movie inspired them to go and look at computers a second time and not being just a boy thing.
There you go.
You know? So that's a good thing.
I think though that that year there were a lot of women in action roles too. I think that she kind of, even though she was afraid, it kind of gave us, it gave us the young version of what it would be like to have raptors after you, but also like an older version. I mean, like there were good representations of female characters in that movie. But I love Sam Neill.
Yeah, Dr.
What's not to love? It's Sam Neill.
Who doesn't love Ian Malcolm? I mean, it's Jeff freaking Goldblum.
And that too, like Goldblum, in a way, there were like shades of him as the Fly too in that role. Like,
must go faster.
I mean, we all kind of say that Christopher Walken plays himself in every movie, but doesn't Goldblum kind of play himself in every movie too?
Every film,
but he's such a good guy. He's such a good actor.
Some shade of his weirdness, like his very eccentric. So, like I think that's what makes him so iconic.
He's a chaotician. Chaos theory.
So anyway.
I'm out of coffee.
We need more coffee on aisle 3.
Should not drink another cup. Or
for Nicole, we need more coffee.
Or no. 2 o'clock again.
In her coffee.
Yeah, we're gonna go stronger than coffee this time.
No, exactly. We're gonna drink water because water
stronger than coffee. But yeah, no. What was it? Jeff Goldblum. His whole life finds a way. I always post that on social media because it's one of the best gifts anyone could use. And then the other one is well, there it is. When he says that, it's like, okay, there it is. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. So it's Jeff Goldblum's a national treasure, man.
I love the scene where Alan Grant, he goes to the fence and he goes, ah, and he scares the kids.
Oh, the two kids, yeah. And then what is it? Doesn't Lexi look at him and says that wasn't funny? Even though deep down, I think she knew it was funny, but she couldn't do it on set.
Okay,
She had to play the
here's my
character.
question. Okay, just on that scene. Okay, so first off, I'm looking at that fence.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
we know
fence.
it's not electrified at this point, right?
No.
I'm not climbing through that. I can separate that enough to go through without having to climb up and over. You know, they were wide enough for the small kids to climb through.
I got to look at the layout of that again because you're probably right.
You know, the small kids didn't have to go through.
I don't know
Yeah,
why
Sam,
they didn't just peel it off and then they could just crawl right through.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
you know.
I look back at some of these movies and I'm like, I would have died in all of these movies. Like, I can't climb the fence. I can't fit my fat butt through it. I'm getting eaten. Like, that's it. The zombies are going to get me. The dinosaurs are going to get me. Everything's going to get me.
Nicole, like in Zombieland says, okay, you don't have to be faster than the zombie. You just have to be faster than Brian.
Oh,
He has longer legs than I do.
Oh, jeez.
Trip him up.
If they get him, there's nothing to eat. What are we going to do?
It stalls them for a few minutes so you can get further down the road.
and so when we're talking about Jurassic Park and the potential sequel that comes later with the books, it's funny how the opening of the second movie is actually the opening of the actual Jurassic Park book.
I've never actually seen the second film.
You never saw The Lost World in '97?
No, I saw the third film.
So did I.
Which I'm sorry about that.
Jurassic Park 3.
And then I saw the remake that they did with what's his name and
Jurassic World with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Pratt and Howard, Bryce Howard.
Dallas Howard running in heels away from a T-Rex.
I thought that was ridiculous. I have not seen any of the others after that.
It's one of the worst movies ever made. Jurassic World is garbage. Garbage.
So.
What did you say?
I said reading is good. Can we start the story now?
It's funny because it's all about the dinosaurs. They don't care about the acting. They don't care about anything.
I care about the acting. I care very much about the acting in these movies. And Jurassic World is atrocious.
He's 9. He's 9.
It's okay. You're 9 years old, young man. You can like that movie for 2 more minutes, and then once you get to be 16 and understand how the world works, and you're going to understand how movies are bad. Some of them are.
No. You want to, Nicole, just give him a pair of high heels and say, try running around in that. And then he'll go, yeah, that's why it was bad.
No, I can't even walk in them, let alone run in them.
This is true. This is
always have women running heels. Okay, they don't always.
Where do these women go that they learn how to do that?
I don't know. Bryce Dallas Howard must have gone to a good school. She is the daughter of Hollywood royalty with Ron Howard. So
I didn't get taught how to walk in heels, let alone run in them. So
yeah, Jurassic World. God.
Like I said, I'm gonna be eaten.
Movie is so bad.
Eaten.
So okay, so Jurassic. What's next? Are we going to talking about things that wanted to be blockbusters but failed miserably?
Yeah, Ryan, go ahead, and you got that list there.
Yeah, I do. Hold on,
I got the same list.
Well, here's the question, Brian. Where do you want me to start? Because there's 15 of these things.
The
ones that stood out to me, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here are some of the ones that stood out to me because some of these movies I have yet to see, so I can't comment or speculate too much on them. Let me see. Nope, can't comment on that one. Nope, can't comment on that one either. Okay, all right. Don't know if you saw this one. This one's 15 years young. It came out in 2005. It was a ripoff of Top Gun from director Rob Cohen, who directed the original Fast and Furious. It was called Stealth.
Oh, that was horrible.
Yeah, it's called Stealth. It had a young and up-and-coming Josh Lucas. You had Jessica Biel, who was coming fresh off of her fame of Seventh Heaven. You had Jamie Foxx, who's one of the most gifted actors in Hollywood today. But yet you do a Top Gun ripoff with an AI plane, and I'm thinking, okay, this movie could be cool. And then 15 years later, I'm like, yeah, this movie's no good.
Yeah, I want my 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it? It was made $77 million against a $135 million budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's one film I can I saw in the theater. Thought it was okay when I was much younger. What other movies do we
I
have
didn't see
here?
what else was on that list.
Oh, there's a lot, but I'll go. Let's see. Another movie I saw in theaters I actually had a decent time with, and if I saw it again today, I'd have to rethink my mind about it because I haven't seen it in a while. Cowboys and Aliens from 2011.
yeah.
There's another one.
Yeah.
That was a movie that had potential. It had great
It
cast.
was just fun.
Yeah, I can have fun with that movie. I mean,
The story was
yeah.
so convoluted that it was hard to follow.
Eh.
I mean, a blockbuster film has got to have a story that you can follow.
I want my 1050 back from this movie, The Lone Ranger from 2013. I want my money back.
Yeah, the less said about that film, the better.
Haven't seen that
It's
one.
a shame too because Army Hammer is really good.
Yeah, he is. I think his career suffered because of it, though.
I thought this film was okay, but the original with Boris Karloff is fine, but I prefer the Brendan Fraser 99 version. The Mummy of 2017 is considered a huge flop.
Killed an entire attempt at the dark
Universe.
Yeah. They had movies lined up with actors and everything. They were ready.
You had Tom Cruise. You had who was Sophia Boutella who plays the Mummy. You had Russell Crowe. You had who was the guy who was Silva? Javier Bardem. I mean,
yeah, but you know what? When you have a script that's horrible and you got guys like Tom Cruise look like they're walking through the role instead of actually trying to do anything. I couldn't even finish the film. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm done. You know? And I love bad films. I'm a fan of Corman. So, I mean, that was a train wreck that it was horrid.
Well, some of these other movies that I haven't had the displeasure or pleasure of seeing, depending on how you want to look at it, because all films are subjective. King Arthur: Legend of the Sword is another one that's on this list.
That's
the remake of Ben-Hur that nobody asked for is on here.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Let me see. Fantastic Four from 2015. That's on.
Oh God, that was horrid.
Yeah.
What's his name? The dude. Jeff Bridges' R.I.P.D. is listed on here with him and Deadpool.
Although I did like that movie.
That was a stupid fun film.
Yeah, I still
It was
part of me still
funny,
wants
but it
to
was
see
fun.
it. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Look, here's what you do with R.I.P.D. First off, it's filmed in Boston up here where I'm at,
Boston.
and they actually get the layout of the city proper for a change when they do this film. But here's a friend of mine said: get the big bowl of popcorn and turn off your brain. It is a very stupid fun film.
Like he's running around with a banana or a hairdryer. That's how everybody sees him. But as he sees it, it's a gun.
Like I said, it's stupid, but it is fun.
I love Ryan Reynolds, and I don't care what he does. I will go see it, or I'll see it at some point, just because I love him. I think he's hilarious, and he's I don't know. I just love him. So.
I had the pleasure of being James Hong's handler at a convention, and this was before he did this film. So I know he had fun because I went drinking with him. And let's just say I saw the man drink a scorpion bowl by himself.
Oh.
Okay. All right, that man outlasted the people that were 50 years younger than he is. Okay.
Jeez.
So
things we learn. The things we learn on this wonderful show of yours, Brian. The next, what is it? What else do we have here? We have the spinoff that no one saw coming called Evan Almighty, which was a spinoff of Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
You have The Adventures of Pluto Nash with Eddie Murphy on here.
I actually like that film because if you take it as a pure comedy, it is a pretty funny farce.
Huh.
You know?
Okay. You also have. I'm actually curious to see this movie. I'm surprised it did as bad as it did. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
The story is what killed it. There was it had no bearing whatsoever on the game.
Yeah. Well, you have the John Travolta not so masterpiece, Battlefield Earth.
Oh,
that's part of the. Okay, Battlefield Earth is part of the Holy Trinity. It's Battlefield Earth, Catwoman, and
Really?
Is it Julie?
Yeah, I guess Julie.
But Battlefield Earth, the hysterical part about Battlefield Earth is that you just look at it and you're like, you can point where they made the mistake in every scene. You know?
I think I've heard of this movie, but I've never seen it. It's called The 13th Warrior from '99. Never seen it.
That's actually a really good film. It's actually, what you'd call artistic in a lot of ways.
Isn't that the one with Antonio Banderas?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. And I remember watching this movie in the 90s, and I thought it was fun. And I think I need to sit down and rewatch it to see if my taste is still there for it. Maybe it isn't. But the 93 film, Super Mario Brothers, is on this list.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
There's a documentary or an article about it that basically everybody was trashed while doing the film.
Oh, yeah. They were drunk as a skunk during the making of this film.
Yeah.
I mean, it made shy of $21 million at its box office, less than half of its reported budget. And Bob Hoskins, the late Bob Hoskins, says it's the worst thing I've ever done in my career.
Oh yeah, and what's especially funny is like I said, there's a documentary that talks about how the script would change 5 minutes before they had to shoot the scene. The sets would, one of the sets burnt down or something. I mean, just everything that could go wrong with this film did.
Yeah, I wanted a legit Mario Brothers movie, and I think everybody wanted it. You could have done well if they did actually stay to the video game. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
so
a lot.
There you go. There's your laundry list of movies that were supposedly going to be masterpieces or make big bucks, but they really didn't.
Now the question is how many of those have turned into cult followings, having cult followings where people defend it to death? Then
Well, Mario Brothers then is one of those.
I think Mario Brothers does have a cult following.
Yeah, it does. It's like some of those films you just can't turn it when it's on TV. You catch it as you're channel surfing, and you can't turn away.
You just watch it anyway.
Yeah, because it's just a train wreck.
So this list, we've talked a bunch about Batman, but in '95, Batman Forever was the summer blockbuster of the year. Made for $100 million, made $184 million, which really in that time isn't a lot over what it was, but I think it was riding on the love of the character, which say whatever you want about Val Kilmer and the fact that it wasn't the greatest movie, but at the same time, I didn't hate it because we did have gifted people playing the villains. We had Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face and Jim Carrey as the Riddler,
But they were playing the same character. If you watch it, they're both kind of playing the same character.
They're pretty much playing themselves.
Well,
didn't we have what's her name from E.T. playing one of the girls for Two-Face?
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore was Sugar, and then Spice was played by Debbie Mazur.
Yeah, there you go.
It's very true. And Debbie Mazur, I think I remember her from Beethoven's Second, which is a sad way to be introduced to an actress. It's Beethoven's Second. Look, I thought that movie was cool as a cat when I was a kid, but when you look at it now, it's like, why did I watch this? It makes no sense. But we were young. We were naive. We didn't know how the world was back then.
Definitely were.
What was it? It was Debbie Mazur, Drew Barrymore, Val Kilmer. Look, I'll be honest. I think Batman Forever is the second best of that original franchise to me. It's second best behind '89's Batman. That's my thought, because to me the second one is a Burton film, and the fourth one is just it's awful.
Joel Schumacher.
Rest in peace, Joel Schumacher.
Now I enjoyed the music that went along with it, like Seals, "A Kiss from the Rose."
Oh yeah,
a lot of Boom Thugs and Harmony, a lot of that
Good song.
Iconic 1995 music that we were kind of listening to was kind of dancey, kind of techno, kind of whatever. But I think for us, for me anyways, you're either one or the other. So you're either a good Batman or you're a good Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but now don't forget this is also the film that brought you bat nipples. Okay.
It wasn't as bad in this movie as it came in the second one.
Chris O'Donnell.
Was Chris O'Donnell in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Robin.
But see, that's why I can't hate this movie, because Chris O'Donnell was Robin. And for me, I thought he played a good Robin, even if he had no voice. I thought he played a good Robin. So, I mean,
I'm with
take
you.
it for what it is. I was 15. What the hell did I know? You know, like I just like Chris O'Donnell. It's just fine.
Hey,
whatever.
at least he landed on his feet with that big check he's getting from NCIS LA.
Oh yeah,
So good on him.
He's
He's getting a lot of residuals for those reruns on Ion Television, man.
Yeah. Well, you know,
So
smart. What was it they said? Movies make you famous, but television makes you rich.
Yeah.
yeah,
Good. Well, good on Chris O'Donnell because he's raking in that money for NCIS LA.
television
Oh, yeah.
keeps you relevant.
So this is
Yeah,
a substantial blockbuster.
So I think 1996 kind of was the year of the boom because things blew up. And I think that's kind of what we find kind of, you know, reoccurring in summer blockbusters now as shit blows up. So 96 was Independence Day.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's when
yeah.
we celebrated our Independence Day.
yeah, that's right.
That's when we celebrated it big time.
But, you know, we had Will Smith and we had Jeff Goldblum and Randy Quaid was in that movie and Bill Pullman.
As one of the
And
greatest movie presidents ever.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, it was just a fun.
And every 4th of
Action
July,
movie.
people always quote the thing that Bill Pullman says in that
Right.
movie.
We celebrate our Independence Day, Brian. We don't just go to Independence Day. Today we celebrate our Independence Day.
What's interesting about that film is, as Brian was saying about the advertising on that, if you look at the trailers on that, most of the trailers, you do not see anything of that film after after the White House blows up in the film. Okay.
Good special effects for the time.
Right. Even
I
today,
actually thought
it
those
was a
buildings were
mix.
being destroyed.
It was a mix of models and CGI.
right,
It's a
and
mix
that's
of
the
both,
case,
yeah.
and that's the case of where it works out best. And that film made
Beautifully in that
money.
movie.
I mean, that was amazing, the amount of money that film made. And the less said about the sequel, the better.
Did the sequel ever happen? I don't think it did.
Yeah,
But
Let's pretend.
yeah, Independence Day is a good film, man. That's a fun movie to watch every year.
and if you really look at it, it's just a remake. Okay, it's a remake of War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
I was
What
gonna say, where are you
stopped
going
them?
with this?
What stops the aliens? A virus.
Yeah.
Except this time it's on a floppy disk.
Well, it doesn't matter how it gets delivered, from a sneeze or a floppy,
So in the following year, Will Smith gets another paycheck with Men in Black.
Oh,
Right, yeah,
that's
that-
right. And one of the best theme songs in the movie too. With Will
Oh, yeah.
Smith.
Yeah. I mean, this was the heyday of, Will Smith's paydays.
Oh yeah. Everyone remember getting those neuralizers from Burger King in your Happy Meal? Oh yeah.
No,
baby, I remember that.
no. Do you remember getting them again and again and again?
Yeah. This is called Neuralizer. It's a gift for some friends from out of town. As they say in the opening of the movie. Sorry, Nicole,
Wait.
I'm just gonna bore you again with my quotes.
You're killing me. But this movie is still as fun as it was.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
And
go-
um,
I love the fact that they played up the Smith and Jones names with Men in Black.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my name is Dr. Pratt. This is Dr. White. When they're in the morgue, looking at the floor, I'm like, wait a minute, can we say that in this movie? But Will Smith is like, yeah, all right, we'll just let it slide.
but in the sequels that came after, I know people don't generally like sequels, but I thought each one that came after, even though they weren't as good as the first one, the second one should still hold a candle. And then the third one was just a different take on it, which I enjoyed because, again,
I gotta say, I like the
I like female characters, but I also love Chris Hemsworth. So
that was wasn't that the fourth
one.
Yeah,
That's
that was the
the
reboot, Men in
All right,
Black
right.
International.
I'm okay with that.
I liked Men in Black
The
International.
the third one came out right before Rip Torn died, right?
I
No.
think so.
It was a few years before he passed on.
Was it?
Oh, no. Wait, yeah. I think it came out after he passed
Yeah,
away.
'cause
Because he
Emma.
was in that.
Yeah, somebody
He
else
was in
was
that
the
movie.
leader.
Yeah, that was the one where Josh Brolin executed Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes,
You mean?
yes.
Don't you mean Thanos? Yeah, Thanos. Yeah, it's not
I mean-
Josh Brolin, Brian. His name's Thanos. Mad
Did
Titan.
you-
But if you had your eyes closed and listened to Josh Brolin, you
It was
thought
Tommy
you
Lee.
would. Yeah.
How do you know
Yeah.
my name?
And what did you think about the TV show?
The animated series?
Yeah.
thought it
I
was
caught a
alright.
few episodes
Okay.
back in its heyday on Fox or Kids WB. I thought it was fine. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was fine.
I've hung out with the guy who produced that show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I be saying more positive things about the show?
No. It was a good thing because he actually explained to me how all the behind the scenes works of animated shows. You know, how they hire, do all that other stuff, and that was he explained that all to me. You know,
I wasn't watching cartoons at the time. Like,
I mean, they had Men in Black the series, and right behind that they had Godzilla the series after the Matthew Broderick film came out.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm guilty as charged. I watched both the movie and the animated series.
I watched some of the.
It was the 90s, Nicole. The 90s were
I
a blessing
know.
for us kids. So
Yeah, well, I was 18, 17,
Okay.
18.
it's just a number. But yeah, the 90s were a golden age for us 90s kids. Just saying. What's the 20,000th movie you want to mention, Brian? Because then we have like 50 more to go. We're almost 2.5 hours into this thing.
We're
Yeah.
just gonna
Okay, well-
skip over a few.
So Saving Private Ryan was 98.
Tom
Yep.
Hanks.
And that introduced everyone to Vin Diesel.
But again,
Diesel.
that was a Spielberg movie.
Vin
And it was-
Diesel.
And it did introduce us to Vin Diesel, which I don't know because I haven't seen the whole movie.
I thought Big Black introduced the world to Vin Diesel.
I'm not a war movie person.
I
Like
got
I watched Pearl Harbor and I watched Midway. And those were
Wow.
above, like, those are my favorite like wartime movies.
You watch.
I'm not-
You watch. They when Saving Private Ryan came out, they managed to get hold of a number of guys who were actually there when it happened, D-Day, and a number of the guys said they had to walk out of that scene because
Exactly.
it was too realistic.
It's too much.
Yeah, they
Way
said
too
they were
heavy.
having flashbacks. They were because it was exactly like that one guy said. So,
mean,
And I
Who-
think maybe that was why I didn't.
but it's enlightening. It's enlightening, and
I'm
it
a very
shows
I'm very sensitive about
right.
like
But
that.
it
I mean, I
shows-
know I don't sound like it, but
No, but
It
it
was-
shows how ugly war is.
Oh, it's very
Between that-
ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was. I mean, to this day, you know, it's still one of the. If you want to go be in the military, watch this film first so you see what could happen to you.
Jeez.
yeah.
I know you said you're not big on the war film train, Nicole, but there is a great war film out there. It's called Glory. Came out in '89. Matthew Broderick,
Yeah.
Denzel got his Oscar because of that. And then you
Yep.
got Morgan Freeman, Carrie Elways, when Carrie Elways was actually a good
Yeah.
actor.
I
You
have
really
seen
need to see
Glory.
Glory.
I did see Glory though because we watched it in my Civil War class.
Okay, well, Glory is, to me, Glory is my favorite war film. That film is just a masterpiece from beginning to end. It's so good.
So
It was what was his name? Edward Zwick. Edward Zwick
Yeah.
directed that. Who also directed Blood Diamond with Leo DiCaprio and Djimon Hounsou. So there you go. Good director. He knows how to direct period pieces.
I can't remember any of that stuff.
It's
But
okay, Nicole. This is why we have papers and we have pens where people can,
Yes.
write this stuff down for your next
This
quiz.
is why you have guests on your show to help with these things.
Yes.
You know,
We're here to enlighten you, Nicole.
I learned something every time.
Yeah, well, Glory's a great war film. That's my favorite. Just putting that out there. Saving Private Ryan's
I
great,
did
but
see that one.
Glory's my number
I
one.
did see
Yeah.
Glory.
so we had
Um,
Saving Private Ryan, which got that got the best picture, didn't it?
I thought it lost to Shakespeare in Love.
May have. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't know.
Didn't it lose to
I don't
Shakespeare in
remember.
Love
I
that
don't
year?
know. I'm gonna go look.
I think that won the Oscar for Best Picture, and people were ticked off because they wanted Saving Private Ryan to win the Oscar that year. For Best Picture, anyway. Not counting the technical awards like, behind the scenes or Best Director, Best Film, Best Actor, all that stuff. That was the
So
difference.
Willow says, "I'm back. Welcome back." So 99 was Star Wars Episode 1.
Hard to consider that. I mean, well, here's
they
the
made
thing.
a boatload of money.
Here's the
It
thing.
made a lot of money.
Of the prequels, I enjoyed the Phantom Menace the most out of the three. 2 and 3 are hot garbage to me, but the Phantom Menace, I will watch that.
Dude,
but I wouldn't.
Episode 3 is the best of the prequels.
Hey man, to each their own. I think 2 and 3 are not good. But
I
that's
wasn't really a fan. I
mean-
don't know.
But that's the thing is that this is one of those things where the first one actually benefited from the fact that how long it was between Phantom Menace and Jedi.
Yeah.
Because it had built
16 years.
Right. It had built an audience. People wanted more, and Lucas for years wouldn't do it until finally he did it. You know?
When
There goes Ryan.
See, he's like, I'm out of here.
No, I think he had to do like I did, which was run to the men's room and come back.
so then 2000 was Mission Impossible 2.
Uh-huh.
And again, like I said, I'm not
That's-
at this
was
point in
that
time, I'm not a Cruise fan.
Was that Scott, Doug Gray or something like that was in that one?
Doug Ray Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be Wolverine.
Yep.
Okay. And then filming took too long on that film, and then he hurt his wrist doing the motorcycle stunts. And so he couldn't do X-Men. And that's when we got Hugh Jackman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been an entirely different movie, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But
And
an entirely different career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Mission Impossible 2, reason why it's the least favorite is because John Woo has a particular type of Hong Kong style filming, which doesn't fit Mission Impossible. And I think that's why that one was the least favorite. People just didn't, he didn't match what Mission Impossible was.
Oh, you mean the one with the doves? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Doug Ray Scott, who was supposed to have been
Wolverine, that's right.
right. And then it says Mission Impossible went overscheduled and was injured in a motorbike accident while shooting the chase scene. So he had to drop out of X-Men.
Well,
He was
happy that he
supposed to
did,
be-
because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, even the kids understand what I'm saying in the background. they know what's going on. They say, I say Hugh Jackman, they're like, oh, whoa, Hugh Jackman?
I don't know what I would have done if he wasn't Wolverine.
You never would have noticed. You never would have noticed.
I think the world would have ended if Hugh Jackman was Wolverine.
I think we got so much out of him being cast as Wolverine.
Well, you gotta remember.
He played the same character for 2 decades.
Well, also remember this is that Hugh Jackman wasn't known for this type of role originally. He was a song and dance man on theater in Australia.
That's right.
Yeah. And so here you got and he was a nobody. Nobody had heard of Hugh
He
Jackman
was.
before.
But it's a prime case of you never know until you get a person sitting in that role what they're going to do.
Yeah, just before he was cast as Wolverine, he was Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
I remember he was on Jay Leno, the Tonight Show, and they were talking about that he was playing Beauty and the Beast. He was Gaston, and because they were talking about like moments of like embarrassing moments on Broadway, and he was like, I had to go to the bathroom, and I was about to come on as Gaston and do a number, and the type of vocal that's needed is the same as to relieve yourself. And so he's like, I can't. And so he went out there and he sang his part and he peed himself on stage.
That's funny.
But also like to play a role like that, like I think you have to harness your comedy too. Like because he is that kind of like a broody, angry, like you kind of got to be funny to be able to play that though too. Like I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Yeah,
I digress. 2001 was Shrek.
Yep.
The Gingerbread Man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She's married to the Muffin Man. Sorry. Anyway, that's another line.
2002 was Spider-Man.
Oh my goodness, my 1994 dream had come true. The web cycle went from an animated series to a live-action film, and let me tell you something. Every single person who grew up in the great decade knows the 90s. We're looking at you, Fox Kids. When that movie came out and blew the doors off our minds, and we saw an upside-down kiss, every single one of us wanted to be Spider-Man in that scene. We wanted to be Spider-Man.
It wasn't just the kids, I assure you.
Oh, you know, a lot of people wanted to be in that scene, but I'm just saying, like, as a kid watching that, I'm like, boy, I didn't know Peter Parker and Mary Jane can kiss like that. I wasn't even know that was humanly possible. Okay.
Have you seen the original? I mean, right after 9/11, the original trailer had to be pulled.
Oh, because it had the Twin Towers in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have that French movie poster somewhere where, yep.
The Twin
Yeah,
Towers.
if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a dynamite trailer.
Oh,
Yeah,
Twin
go
Towers.
if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a dynamite trailer.
Oh,
Because I
need to
remember
watch
when
that.
you can find it on YouTube. And
Okay.
when I first saw it, I'm like, I thought it was like, okay, it's some bank robbery, whatever. And then when the webbing showed up, I was like, wow, this is going to be a great film. You know,
And it had the helicopter, and that's why they.
I mean,
it was
in everything that Spider-Man's become now since 2002, I understand why Tobey Maguire gets hate.
I
However-
know, man. Tobey Maguire did a good job as Spider-Man.
Those first two movies are classics.
Yeah, really, really innocent. Like he was much older than a high school kid, and I thought he played it really well.
Was Tobey better as Peter or better as Spider-Man?
I think he was fine as both. I don't get why people rag on him for it.
I don't either.
He was good as both, but I liked him better as Peter.
It makes
Like,
sense.
That's fine.
Between him and Andrew Garfield, like I prefer Tobey Maguire's Peter. But I will always and forever, from this day forward, 2020, always, Tom Holland will always be my Spider-Man. I'm
That's
sorry.
fine. But I think the point here is that Maguire didn't do anything to damage the franchise, except for Spider-Man 3, which was not his fault.
It wasn't his
Okay.
fault.
But the Spider-Man 1 and 2, okay, first of all, fairly faithful to the origin story. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, so he's not radioactive, it's biological. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I could handle that change from radiation to a genetically engineered spider, okay? And I'm a serious comic book guy. I can handle that, okay? The web slinger, I was disappointed that it was organic versus a mechanical thing. But again, it wasn't that big. The rest of the storyline from the death of Gwen Stacy storyline that they almost pulled off, which I wish they had done. Who they cast as Green Goblin.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, that was
Great
great
actor.
casting. Yeah. The origin, they had Bruce Campbell in it, so I can't say anything wrong in the origin of
Evil Dead
Spider-Man.
callbacks.
Yeah.
Well, you want to know something about Bruce Campbell? In the fourth movie that was going to come out, was going to have the Lizard, but Bruce Campbell was going to end up being Mysterio.
Oh, that would have been fabulous.
I would have been curious to see Sam Axe from Burn Notice, one of the best TV series in recent memory, by the way, play Mysterio. Because quite
That would have
frankly,
been
Spider-Man Far From Home, not a good movie.
Yeah, I
Not a
haven't
good
seen it
movie.
yet.
Not a good movie.
But
Wasn't a big fan of Homecoming either, but that's because it was coming right off of Avengers, and he was basically connected to Tony Stark. It's like, no, Spider-Man is his own character. He doesn't need Tony Stark. He needs to be himself.
But Tobey Maguire didn't damage the franchise. As a matter of fact, I think
great.
He energized people to go and see who Spider-Man was, who had never seen, didn't know the cartoon or the comic book. I know a lot of people who went, geez, that's Spider-Man. I didn't know anything about it. And so I think it was I think that they did a good version there for those first two films.
And with holding the second one aside, the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield I thought was decent. I don't think Andrew Garfield or Mark Webb destroyed the Spider-Man franchise.
The second one did.
I think it was Sony because they were doing whatever they could to hold on to the rights because the rights say if Sony or even Fox with the X-Men, if they didn't make a film within so long, the rights would revert back to Marvel.
Well, they should have given him back after Spider-Man 3.
Well, why do you think Roger Corman made that Fantastic Four film? Same reason.
Yeah.
I just for my own love of it, in the
comments
words in the comments.
Where are we?
So there was Willow said the downfall to the Garfield version was the wrong casting of the villains. And to be completely honest, it's like I remember Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but I don't remember who the villains were. And so
because there was 50 of them.
If the villains are bad, then I think you don't have a good movie. Like, I think they have to be on par with the character playing the good guy.
Yeah, your hero is only good as his villain.
Yeah, Michael Keaton as the Vulture was not good. You know,
great actor.
The Vulture,
it's like,
the Vulture is supposed to be this old craggy scientist, not some dad
Batman look-alike.
Or some dad in the suburbs. You know,
like you have to. When it comes to the MCU, they have their reality set already, starting from the first Iron Man. So you have to fit into what the MCU has already done.
But you don't have to. You did not have to cast somebody who looks good to be the villain. Okay, the Vulture is basically this bitter old guy. Okay,
who wants to be young. Yes.
Well, not just that, but he's bitter about everything, and he's going to take it out on the city for whatever. You don't have it as some guy who's pissed because his business is failing. Okay, which is what Michael Keaton's doing. I have not seen the second one with Electro, which was Jamie Foxx was Electro.
Yeah, it's one of the worst movies ever made. Amazing Spider-Man Part 2.
Yeah, I have not seen that one, and I probably never will.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst films ever made in the history of cinema. But
there's one of those blockbusters wannabes that failed.
Yeah. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2 made it made a chunk of change, but not nearly as much as the first one or some of the other Spider-Man installments did. Like,
it's funny because Amazing Spider-Man 2, like, legitimately, Sony was talking about making an Aunt May film.
Yes,
and a Sinister Six movie.
Yeah.
They wanted a Sinister Six. And I'm like, you can't have Sinister Six without Spider-Man. You can't make a Venom movie without Spider-Man. Oh, wait, you've made 2 of them. Nobody asked for that, Sony, but you made them anyway. Okay. I haven't even seen the first Venom because without Spider-Man, there is no Venom. You can't have a villain. I mean, certain villains can carry their own films, but Venom needs Spider-Man as much as Spider-Man needs Venom. Okay? So I can't watch Venom without Spider-Man. I can't do it because I grew up on the animated series. The animated series had a great interpretation of Venom and Carnage. I don't feel like seeing the live-action version because to me, it just looks too cartoonish.
And maybe because I'm not a Spider-Man comic girl, like maybe that's why.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I enjoyed Venom, but I enjoyed Venom probably not because it was the character, but more because of the way it was approached. Like I enjoyed seeing an anti-hero like dealing with that war between himself and how this symbiote becomes like it is a symbiote. It has to be a symbiotic relationship because without one, the other dies.
Right.
So, like having that voice happening in his head and the way it was played, I enjoyed the movie. I really did, but I understand why it is hard to see it by itself and like, well, where's Spider-Man? Because they belong together. But I get it. I mean, you're not wrong. I'm just saying that I enjoyed it for what it was. And Tom Hardy is amazing. And, it's interesting if you listen to him talk about how he approached the conversation in his head.
Yeah,
those things are important to me. And it's kind of the same as when I watched Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like the way they approach the film is what makes the character, I think.
Yeah.
So 2003 was Finding Nemo.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
2005 was Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
That's right.
Yep.
15 years young that movie is now. Jeez.
I think I saw this one in the movie theater.
What's that?
Good thing we didn't do a celebration for that movie, Revenge of the
I
Sith.
don't know. We weren't together yet.
It's not a very good movie.
So we weren't together. Well, maybe I didn't see it because we weren't together. So
Which
I probably
You didn't- when this came out, you didn't live in Vegas yet.
Oh, okay.
What film were we talking about?
Star Wars Episode 3.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, the movie that we didn't do an anniversary watch for. Yeah.
2006 was Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest, and we did see this one in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Man, those
Wait a
sequels.
minute. Which one was Dead Man's Chest?
That was the second one.
The second one.
Second one. It was
Okay,
after
all right.
the Black Pearl. After the Black Pearl came out.
Because the one they did without Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley was a horrible one.
Oh, that was
3.
the fourth one. That was on Stranger Tides.
Right. Oh God, that was horrid.
I actually enjoyed that movie. I'm in the minority.
I haven't seen the 5th one yet, though.
I have no desire to see the 5th one because to me, pirates died after the first one.
It was a little much.
Yeah, way too many pirate movies after the first one. Should have been one movie. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand why they cashed in on it because
it's a moneymaker.
Money.
It had a lot of cheddar.
A
lot of cheddar.
And I think that's what brought Johnny Depp back into.
Oh yeah, that revitalized his career.
Yeah, no one really cared what he was doing after certain movies, and then all of a sudden he comes up in 2000. I didn't even know he was nominated for an Oscar for the first movie.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So 2007 was Spider-Man 3.
Which was the fall of Spider-Man cinematically, not animated wise, but it was the fall of him cinematically.
Yeah.
2008 was The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Good movie. Not the best of the trilogy, but good movie.
I prefer The Dark Knight above all the other movies.
The other two?
Yeah. I prefer The Dark Knight.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I didn't enjoy The Dark Knight Returns, but
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight, whatever the hell.
There's a lot of movies that have Rise or Return in them, but
whatever Bane was in, I'm not a fan of Bane. I've never been a fan of Bane. I don't care.
It was the third film.
That was the third.
Whatever.
Movie.
Yeah.
It's okay. Dark Knight was the one you're talking about.
The second one had Joker in it. The second one had Joker.
But now Batman Begins and Batman Returns have a
special place in your heart.
Yes, I don't hate them.
Okay, Batman Begins is awesome.
The Dark Knight is like, I don't know. And maybe it's because I'm a 10 Things I Hate About You girl from like.
That's a good movie, by the way. That's a good film.
Isn't that a remake of
that movie?
True?
Yes, it is. It is a remake of the play, but yes, 10 Things I Hate About You is a good 90s comedy.
I love that movie, and I love all the characters that are in that movie.
David Krumholtz is in that.
Come on, Heath Ledger dancing in the stadium.
Look who you had in the movie. You had him. You have David Krumholtz, who went on to do Numbers on CBS, great drama series, by the way. You had who was the other guy? You had Julia Stiles, who I had a crush on from Save the Last Dance, but she did this movie before she was saving me the last dance. Julia, I'm looking at you.
And then Larissa
Olenek.
Yeah.
AKA The Secret World of Alex Mack from Nickelodeon. Us 90s kids remember these things.
And what's his face from Third Rock from the Sun?
Yes.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
JGL, you mean? Yeah. JGL. Yeah. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. There you go. See, you had young up-and-coming stars at the time.
So, and it was kind of like a return to the Brat Pack, like
teen comedy.
The teen comedy thing. I loved that movie. Still love that movie.
It's a good movie.
And so when I heard Heath Ledger was in it, I was like, holy shit. But like, I loved that incarnation of the Joker. And this is actually when I started getting into Batman.
Yeah.
And looking at a lot of the Frank Miller stuff. And so I was way more into like this movie because it was so much darker. Like I enjoyed that version of the Joker. So
and I know Heath Ledger got crap because the year before he was a gay cowboy, which that movie, I don't care. That's a great movie.
It's still
Brokeback Mountain is a very good film. Yeah.
I didn't think he could pull off the Joker because I just see him as a teen star, but he came into the Joker and I'm like, wow, guy blew my mind. He terrified me, and to me, he's the best version of that character, cinematically anyway.
Well, because before he was, he was in 10 Things I Hate About You, but he was also
A Knight's Tale.
In A Knight's Tale, but
Which
he was.
I just seen, by the way. I liked it.
What's the skateboard one that he was in?
Lords of Dogtown.
Lords of Dogtown, and he was in Point. No,
he wasn't in Point Blank.
He wasn't. He was in
a surfing movie.
Oh, it was. Oh yeah. Oh God. Was it Surfs? It wasn't Surfs Up. That's the animated film. I'm thinking of the live action. Maybe it was a surfer movie. I don't know, but he was in Lords of Dogtown, which is based on a true story.
Maverick. Was it Maverick?
No.
Trick.
Must be a different
movie anyway. So, like, they just see this Aussie guy. They didn't assume that he could take on this role.
And then he turns out to be the devil incarnate in The Dark Knight.
I mean, and probably by what most people say it is the role that basically killed him. So,
And I want to say this is the first time that someone in a comic book film won an Oscar.
Posthumously.
Posthumously.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, to be honest, I think that's why he got the Oscar, is because he died.
Probably. But if he were still alive, I still would have given him the Oscar.
Because that's how Liz Taylor got the Oscar. Everyone thought she was going to die in a few days when she was sick. That happens. That's just part of what happens. Yeah, people, they're going to die. We got to give them the Oscar before they die. You know?
I'm just curious. I don't remember. Can you guys look up who was nominated with him that year?
Yeah, look it up.
Wasn't Daniel Day-Lewis nominated for
I don't know.
There Will Be Blood? Or maybe.
Well, this is for supporting actor.
Oh, best supporting actor. Okay.
I think.
That's a good question.
Best supporting actor.
Anyone in the chat know what we're talking about when it
here
comes
we
to
go.
Oscars? Because only 2.5 people watch them.
So we had Heath Ledger, Josh Brolin in Milk. He played Dan White. Robert Jr. in Tropical Thunder. Philip Seymour Hoffman in Doubt. And Michael Shannon for Revolutionary Road.
Doubt is a dark, good, like dramatic film, man. Doubt was a good one. That was him and Meryl Streep.
No, looking at that, possibly, I think you may be right. I think maybe Philip Seymour Hoffman had that.
Either that or Brolin.
Doubt was either him, movie, though.
It was either him or Brolin for Milk.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
You know, and I think when Heath Ledger died, I think it was let's give him the Oscar.
He did give a great performance, no matter what.
Yeah, I'm not disputing performance.
Didn't Philip Seymour Hoffman also win an Oscar right before he died?
I don't know. Let me go look.
Because he was nominated.
Let's see.
Well, he's been nominated a couple of times over the years.
Yeah, talk about another actor that gone through transition. You see him; he's the guy in Twister, and then he goes to Academy Award-winning films.
Jeez, man, the Twister's coming, man! It's coming. The monster's coming. Dude, he was in what was the he was in a movie that I watched a couple times as a kid. Oh, Along Came Polly with Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston.
He won Best Actor as Capote.
Oh, that's right.
That's what I thought.
I heard that was a good biopic too.
Yeah. He was nominated. He was nominated for Charlie Wilson's War, Doubt, and The Master.
Oh wow, that's an eclectic career right there. That's a
heroin will do that to you.
Well, but his performances, I'm just saying, he played a lot of transformative characters.
Yeah,
and that's funny how he says transformative characters.
And our segue to 2009 is When Things Go Boom. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
I thought that sequel was all right at the time, but when I look back on it, it's like, no.
Wait a minute. That's not the one. The Transformers: of the Fallen is what's her name still in it?
Megan Fox.
Yeah, Megan's still in that.
She was in the first.
That's part two.
Was it the first three? No, the first two. She was in 1 and 2.
Yeah. And let's be honest, in the first one, she was just eye candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no real.
I still enjoy the first and third Transformers movies. I still enjoy, but 2 and 4 can take a long walk off a very short cliff.
So, Megan Fox, the only reason she's in anything is because she's pretty.
All right. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen what's the one where they say something about "Take Me to Hell" or something.
She was in the movie Jennifer's Body as a vampire, or no, she was a succubus. She wasn't a vampire.
Oh, that's actually a good movie.
It's only because she's naked half the movie.
Hey.
Okay. Say that like
be nice.
Bad thing.
Be nice.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. No, I'm just saying that's essentially why everybody likes the movie is because she was half the movie.
Okay.
So
wow.
But
there's a throwback.
The second highest grossing movie of that year was the Twilight Saga's New Moon.
Oh dear God.
So there you go. I
think we know why those movies made money.
And of course, Avatar was out that year, but that wasn't in the summer.
That was not a summer blockbuster. That was a Christmas movie.
Uh-huh.
It's a Christmas movie.
Well, that's like Titanic was a Christmas movie, even though that
was.
made Boku down. You know the film that knocked Titanic off of the #1 position?
It was Avatar, wasn't it?
No.
Or no, it wasn't.
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space.
Yeah.
Titanic had been on the top for like 8 weeks.
Really? Oh, you mean when it was originally running?
came
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say if you're telling me that Lost in Space made more money.
No. I'm talking about the weekly.
Okay, the weekly. Because I was gonna say Lost in Space is nowhere near the top 5 of highest grossing movies of all time.
No.
And then Titanic went back to #1.
Exactly. That was the funny part.
So it went down into the iceberg, and then it rose up again. So they made Titanic 2.
Yeah. So, all right. I know they just recently had a 4th one, but back in 2010, what I consider probably Jerome's gonna disagree, I know, but probably the best trilogy, Toy Story 3 came out. I think
I love Toy Story 3.
It was.
I enjoyed every single Toy Story movie.
I've never actually seen it. I've seen the first 2, but never saw the 3rd one.
Oh, TS3 will ball your eyes out, man. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to sit down with my daughter and watch it.
There you go.
Right.
Father-daughter night.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I'm not a Richter scale for this because I cried at every single one of these movies. Like Pixar makes me cry. I don't know why.
I think that's Pixar's job.
I think it's just like I even cry at some of the shorts. So she says tag me in.
Oh, we're gonna have a guest here. Willow's coming in.
Really? We're going on 3-hour cut of this movie. I mean, show, Brian. You do realize we're going on a 3-hour cut, right?
Well, we do get out of hand sometimes.
Gee, Willikers, some of us are gonna have to eat dinner pretty soon, buddy.
I know. I got to think about that soon myself.
Us
Who's
too.
tagging
And
you in, Brian? Who's in the ring right now saying, tag me, Bonesaw is ready?
You gotta give her.
Yeah, I gotta give her the link here.
Does anybody remember Bonesaw McGraw?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I grew up watching him in WCW wrestling, but when he showed up in Spider-Man, I'm like, oh, you had a career post-wrestling? This is good for you, Macho.
Hey man, watch what you say about Macho. Man was a great voice actor also.
And he was a great promo cutter.
Yeah.
The guy who did you see his promo about the cream that rises to the top? Did you see that one?
No.
You need to see this clip called "Why Randy Savage is the best when it comes to cutting promo," whatever it is. Watch that 10-minute clip of all his interviews because I'm telling you, he's so good at cutting promos. He was even good when he was being interviewed by Arsenio Hall like 3 times.
When you get a chance, go watch some of the his voiceover work when he was doing the Jackie Chan cartoon.
He was on the Jackie Chan show?
Uh-huh. You can hear the voice. Yeah, because he does that third person type of talk,
Yeah, did he say in the show snap into a Slim Jim?
No.
Okay.
It's so funny, just to go off topic on what you're talking about, Savage.
Going off topic? We've never done that on this show.
We're 3 hours into the show. We've been off topic half of it.
There's a lot of promos that Savage and Hogan did that people were like, you have to be like on mushrooms or something to pull off these promos.
Well, when they were doing the promo for the Mega Powers,
yes,
there was a lot of energy in that promo. They were like, let's shake their hand, and they're like, we're gonna do it, brother, we're gonna be the Mega Powers, and we're gonna pull the roof off the place. Oh god, can we do a promo off? We need to do an impression of certain wrestlers cutting promos, Brian. I'm just saying, I can cut a Macho and Ric Flair promo on the same day.
Okay, so yeah, the cream of the crop is when he's
yeah.
Hey
anyway,
everyone,
somebody here with us?
just give me a sec. My sound is off again.
Oh dear. Technical difficulties on aisle 4, Brian.
But yeah, Toy Story 3, Jerome, you're gonna love it.
It's a good film, man.
Unmute her?
You and your daughter are going to be loving this film. You're going to be loving
My daughter hates anything like that. That's going to make her cry.
Well, that's sad. But
it's
please
it's a happy cry, though.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
She had a problem. She had a problem with what's the one that they did with the emotions in the head?
Inside Out. That's a great Pixar film.
But see, that was a terrible one to cut your teeth on because I ugly cried during that movie.
She was scared.
Cried.
Nicole, is it because of Bing Bong?
I ugly cried everything.
It's because of the character Bing Bong. Is
It's got to be because of Bing Bong.
That was the character by Richard Kind.
That was hysterical. That movie. I loved.
I like Inside Out personally.
I loved
Amy Poehler.
Black.
Which one?
Lewis Black.
Oh, you mean Lewis Black?
Sorry, guys, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Congratulations, California! You ruined pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on my pizza, Brian, there are no toppings. The only thing I put on my pizza is Parmesan cheese to give it a little spice. That's and oregano. That's it.
Yeah, but broccoli definitely does not belong on pizza.
Pepperoni is okay on pizza, though.
Pineapple belongs on pizza.
I think pepperoni should go on pizza, Jerome.
What was that, Ron?
Pepperoni's good on pizza, though.
Pepperoni's fine, but pineapple, no.
Hey!
Hey, do we know this person? Who are you? I haven't seen this person in like what, less than 24 hours ago? Jeez.
I managed to get here somewhat on time.
No, it's all right. We've just been talking about weird things like movies that we thought were going to be successes that turned out to be bombs, and then Brian goes off about some guy named Savage, who apparently was some wrestler from 100 years ago. And then Jerome's talking about the fact that he's never seen Toy Story Part 3, and I'm like, how dare you, sir? How dare you?
It's been a whirlwind of chaos, basically.
Nice. I love chaos.
Just to tell you the truth, Willow, we've gone off topic how many times, Brian? What does it say on your answer sheet? 50 times. 50 times, Willow.
The answer is 42.
Oh, 42. Thank you, Nicole, the lovely teacher. It's 42. I got my math wrong.
So yeah, well, I can't word and I can't math either today. So
I can't math to save my own skin, Nicole.
All right, so what movie are we on now?
I think we're 2018, Brian, because we're getting close to 3.5 hour cut of this movie.
2011 was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Which I saw in the theater. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I did not.
2012 was a big one.
Now, 2012 ushers in a brand new kind of blockbuster, and it starts in May. Because if I recall,
May 4th.
Yeah, and we actually saw it before it came out because we went to the special screening.
Yes.
And this is why Brian and I aren't going to be friends anymore after the show.
When was this?
So, it's The Avengers in 2012.
Good movie.
So it ushered in the real, like, because Iron Man and Iron Man 2 came out and they weren't summer.
Iron Man came out. I don't remember
the Incredible
when it was.
Hulk.
No, there was actually. Hang on a second here. There was several.
If you want, I know the order.
Yeah, I know the order too.
Which
but
Hulk are you talking about, though? Are you talking
come out
about
in the summer, though? Correct.
Yeah.
That's
They're all released. Most of them were released in the summer. The Phase 1 movies. I think Thor was November.
Yeah, Thor was November.
No. Thor was May 6th of 2011.
Okay, maybe I don't know.
Either way, these movies came out during the summer, but it led up to the cinematic universe that we know today as the Avengers.
Right.
Second was Iron Man 1. Okay.
2008.
Yeah.
Then it was Iron Man. Then it was the Incredible Hulk the month after Iron Man opened out, by the way.
Was it?
It was.
think
They
we
came out
lost
within
Brian
a
and
month of each
Nicole.
other. Yeah, Iron Man was in May. Incredible Hulk was in June of 2008.
Wait a minute, which Incredible Hulk are we talking about?
Edward Norton.
He
The
did
only
a good job.
Darn right he did.
I liked him as Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk is one of my favorite MCU movies of all time.
It was
Yeah, that's right,
exciting.
Jerome. I said it. The Incredible Hulk is a great MCU movie, in my
Okay, so
humble opinion.
The first Captain America film came out in July of 2011.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, you said Incredible.
And the thing is, though, I don't think they're really on this list because they weren't really blockbusters. Maybe Iron Man and 2. Well, it was overshadowed by The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it made money, but it didn't make the kind of money that. But it made $623 million.
Yeah.
So.
I'm
Avengers.
still waiting to get my check from that in the mail.
All right, so there was Hulk in 2003 with Sam Elliott and Jennifer Connelly, and
That's
or-
that's
Yeah,
not
that
MCU
was
canon, though.
outside of the MCU. That's,
no, I understand. I'm just making sure I know which one we're talking about, guys. That's
Yeah, the
why I'm
Incredible
bringing
Hulk with
it.
Edward Norton and Liv
Norton.
Tyler. Who, by the way, Liv Tyler, I miss you very deeply. Okay, you need to show up in more movies, honey. Seriously, she does.
I do. I miss her.
She's on TV. She's on 911.
She's in Lone Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a TV. I want to see her in big buffo movies, man. She's good. I want to see her in more stuff.
I want to see her come back as Betty Ross.
MCU, if you're watching this, which I know you are because you monitor everybody's phone calls and emails, you need to give us Liv Tyler in the MCU again. You understand me? Do it.
Hopefully in the next movie she doesn't have her dad kind of sneak
I
in.
want the next film, if you're gonna do a Hulk film. The next film's got to have a Doc Samson. Okay.
Yeah.
So then
God.
2013 was Iron Man 3.
Not my favorite movie, but it was
It
still
wasn't
good.
my favorite MCU movie.
I mean, they had
wasn't
Guy
even my
Pearce in it.
favorite.
Iron Man 3 was, to me, a great Shane Black film,
That's what everyone says.
but not a great Iron Man film.
You're not
I
the
agree.
first person to say it, Brian. A lot of people agree with you.
I kind of think it was like a precursor to other stuff that was going to happen I think it was like a intermission movie.
I mean, well, you're the first MCU outside of the Avengers. I mean,
The pressure's
So-
going to be on you.
right. And like with the Avengers, nobody expected it to do what it did. Like, was it going to
mega
work? No, nobody knew if you were going to
come on,
have all these
The Avengers film is directed by Josh Whedon. Okay. And what's Josh Whedon known before he does the Avengers?
Buffy
Buffy.
Angel.
So suddenly now we've got this guy who did Buffy is directing the
Firefly.
Avengers. Yeah. I mean, people are just going, yeah, not really sure this is going to work with the Avengers
Yeah,
came
but
out.
it ended up working really well, though.
Not disputing that point. What I'm saying is the chatter before the film came out was not sure this was going to work out because they were also very tight-lipped about who was actually in the Avengers until the press started releasing it.
Right.
And that was a major discussion as to who was going to be in the Avengers.
But I think that was right around the time that there was all this chatter around all of the people anyways, because they did the same thing with Chris Evans and there was a whole conversation about whether it was going to be fitting of what, like we went through the ringer with all Marvel movies is that, oh, well, this person's going to play this, I don't know what I was going to say because the dog barked.
Yeah,
but
like,
Not enough coffee for
it's
Nicole.
like
Nicole's got to go take a nap.
with Chris Hemsworth, like he was like Hugh Jackman, so nobody really knew who he
Right.
was. I mean, he
Another
was
Aussie.
in Star Trek for a short minute, and he did a couple other stuff, but nobody
a
really.
couple other stuff.
Yeah,
A couple other stuff. What does that mean?
It
Okay.
means it was nothing. Nobody had heard of this guy before he did Thor.
I like Thor. Yeah.
And
Thor's
I'll tell you,
not a terrible
everybody
film.
everybody was like, great, he buffed up, man. And
Dude, the guy was jacked in that movie.
oh, he was.
well, he was already kind of jacked before.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You go back and look at that Star Trek film, man. The guy is like rail thin.
He's
Okay.
for that
He
movie, for Chris Hemsworth.
You look at that Star Trek film and you look at Chris Hemsworth and you're going, man, before you die, eat a hamburger, okay?
I think, in all honesty, the roles should have been reversed in that. As much as I like Chris Pine, I think Hemsworth would have been a better captain.
I agree
Kirk.
with you on that. I agree.
He had a better look, I think. He looks more
He
the part.
looked like Shatner.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He has the classic Shatner look.
the chin.
Hat. Yeah.
But
Very-
2014
Was a surprise. This is what you call not just a
Dark
blockbuster,
Horse.
a sleeper hit.
Yeah. Because nobody expected a little movie that nobody knew the characters would be that huge.
Oh,
And-
Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. And it wasn't the Guardians I was expecting. Because, I mean, I go back to the 1970s Guardians, which from the future.
Oh.
Okay. And I'm thinking, how are they going to pull this off? And then they did what they did, which, I mean, I don't say it wasn't bad, but wasn't what I was expecting. And I watched it and I went, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they went with the 2008 comic run.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the film with daddy issues.
now I'm sorry, but I have love for this movie on so many levels, but mostly because my oldest son is named after one of Chris Pratt's characters. And Chris Pratt is my birthday twin.
You named your son Star-Lord?
No. His name is Brighton. His name is Brighton because that was Chris Pratt's character in Everwood. So,
okay.
Lots of love, and that's him right there.
Oh, wow, there are kids running around the camera. What's going on?
I have lots of love for Chris Pratt. But I had a lot of love for this movie because there was so much music in it that was like music I'd heard. It was iconic music. But also like what? What?
Jerome's lost it.
Oh no, I just sorry. I love music.
Right, see that music was my childhood. Okay.
I grew up listening to all of that. Like I didn't listen to anything
like her
normal.
mom.
My mom is a classic rock.
Yeah.
Classic rock. My childhood.
She's very eclectic in her like
disco, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, like I don't know. I just
the music was really good in that film, though. You can't deny that that's a good soundtrack.
And can I say the best? I was gonna say the best surprise of that film was Dave Bautista.
Yes.
You know, it kills me. It kills me because everybody was like, well, he can't act. And I'm like,
yeah, he can.
Yes, he can. Because honestly, you're as good as everybody you're surrounded by. But was there anybody that could have delivered lines like he did?
Oh, come on. Wait a minute. Vin Diesel delivered the best line of all. I am Groot.
I have to agree. But I mean, yes, it would not have flown over my head. My reflexes are, I will not do it justice. Ryan probably can, but I know the quote. But I think that right there is a testament to the type of character you're being, you're being cast for. Like you expect him to be bad, but you expect him to play it play it straight. Like he played it so straight, he was funny.
Yeah.
And he said in multiple interviews, he's like, I know I'm not the greatest actor, but I do take it seriously. Like he knows what he can do and what he can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the muscle. Like there's no escaping that. He was definitely the muscle. And so you got what you got. But like the comedic like timing between him and Chris Pratt, I think was important to the way the movie worked.
Yeah.
And not to mention that, I'm sorry, but Zoe Saldana is probably one of the more underrated female actresses of our current time. Like, I think that she deserves much more.
For her to be put in like all these big movies, though, it tells you that she's doing something good. And I mean, the last little while, she's been in several big blockbusters.
Yeah, she has.
And she keeps getting more and more roles. And
she's cutting back on roles, though. Now that she's a mom.
Yeah.
Well, and understandably so, because it's hard work. But
you got kids running around during a live show that we're almost 3.5 hours into an extended cut of this program with. I mean, come on.
They're completely okay with it as long as there's YouTube. So,
jeez.
Yeah, but I gotta go feed the daughter and the wife in a few minutes, so we're gonna have to wrap this up.
So, but I think that was probably without
a doubt that movie came out of nowhere, to be honest. because
Well,
there
yeah,
are a lot
'cause
of
no one
people,
knew who the Guardians were except the 1%
Right.
of the population who read comics.
right?
Yeah.
And even then, there was questions whether or not they could pull it off, because everybody started before even the first trailer dropped, and people knew that this film. There was already discussions of comparisons of this to Green Lantern.
Yeah, and Green
Okay.
Lantern was a bad day at the office for Hollywood, that's for sure.
Yeah, but the point I'm getting at is that there was already expectations, and then when it did as well as it did, that's when people stopped questioning the MCU. Guardians, in my opinion, is where Hollywood said, "Okay, you guys know what you're doing."
Yeah.
Versus, I mean, if Guardians had crashed and burned, you probably would have seen the MCU go an entirely different direction.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe so.
So, but this, I think, is why it did so well. And I think Terry's sitting on the head is that because he's such a good director when it comes to comedy and those serious moments. Like
Mhm.
a lot of the really tough moments in Guardians of the Galaxy were cut with humor. And for like people
Dance
like me who just this is my life, it's like everything I deal with humor. That's my deal. Like I'll segue everything with something funny because I don't want to have to deal with the reality of whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
So
I think the reason why this worked too is that Kevin Feige trusts James Gunn. Like when everybody loves Kevin Feige. Like he hasn't really had a bad day at the office with the MCU, and everybody doesn't remember this. But before the MCU, he's worked on 13 Marvel films before Iron Man. So, and he's a fan of comics. Like he knows comics in and out. And I think that's why we see the MCU do so well, is because Kevin Feige puts the trust of the director and lets the director kind of do the thing without meddling.
but I think there's a director choice too. Like I think he's choosing good directors for what he wants the flair of the movie to be.
Well, that's where you can see the difference between MCU and DCU, is that the MCU, they get the directors who appreciate the material, okay? You know, they've read the stuff, they know the characters, they care about the characters. You're not going to get somebody who goes, yeah, it's just a job, I could care less. Okay, these are guys who grew up with the characters, okay? Bryan Singer was a huge X-Men fan, okay? And it showed in the third and fourth film.
Yeah.
He wasn't there, okay? You look at the directors, you look at the actors, they all know these characters and they know the values of what they have, okay? That's why some of these actors are disappearing from the MCU. Like, you notice you don't see a lot of Natalie Portman anymore after the second film. Why? No, she really didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
You know,
can tell by her acting.
But you know what?
I can tell straight.
The whole Natalie Portman thing. I can guarantee you that Taika gets the best out of her in the new Thor movie.
Well, we'll see. I'm not so sure about that. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's a contract thing that she's doing it.
They could have picked a way better actress to play Thor's love interest.
Right. But
I mean,
my
at
point,
this point, Sif should have been Thor's love interest because they hinted at it in Thor Part 2, The Dark World, which is a trashy movie, horrible movie.
Yeah.
But they hinted at the romance between Sif and Thor, and I'm like, play it up, because Jamie Alexander is drop dead gorgeous, and she can play a serious, dramatic role, but also get lovey-dovey with you.
I want to see more
give
warrior
Jamie Alexander
women.
all the money in the world because Jane Foster ain't going to cut it.
yeah, and what I'm saying though is it's behind the scenes. It matters. The guys who write the scripts, they love the comics. Okay. Now, you know, me and oh god, I'm blanking on his name. Played Hawkeye.
Oh, you mean Jeremy Renner?
Yeah. He and I both agree that Hawkeye was grossly treated badly in the first Avengers film. Okay. You know, I'm a Hawkeye guy. I can show you, you know, I've got tons of Hawkeye. It's
Nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
Nice.
Tell us how you really feel about this character.
But you know, but if you look at it, but if you look at the DCU, okay, you know, you got to wonder, you know, you can't, you don't see the love the same way. Okay, suddenly the DCU after the Dark Knight trilogy has to all be dark. Okay, look at the disaster of the Superman movies and the Justice League. Okay, it's not supposed to be, and you can tell that there's not a real love for the source material there. Okay, the only change was the last two films where you didn't have certain people in charge. Okay, you had Wonder Woman and Shazam. Both you could see a serious connection to the source material and a love of that, and it showed in the films.
Yeah.
Okay?
Aquaman was decent.
Huh?
Aquaman was decent.
Aquaman was a really good
Aquaman,
movie.
sorry, I didn't catch Aquaman. Yeah, but it wasn't. I mean, Aquaman looked to me like a filler for Justice League. We got to explain why this guy's in Justice League.
But
I mean,
I think
I like what they did, but and some of the stuff, but you just kind of I felt like it was filler.
But with the MCU, there's a streamline to how they're going to introduce characters, and
That's
there's
what
a forward motion. Like I feel like there's a little bit of continuity between each of the movies and what they put out to us, whereas I don't feel that continuity with the DCU. Like
Exactly.
I don't feel that the characters are living in the same universe.
Well, it's because they don't have a Kevin Feige type figure. Like
Yes, they do.
5 years in advance with the storylines, so he knows where he wants to go. Where DC kind of just
there's no
throws
one
darts.
steering the ship. There's no one steering the ship, and that's what ticks me off the most because I love these characters and I love these properties, but you got to find a Kevin Feige at DC Cinematic Universe because if you don't, your movies are going to end up in the garbage pail, and I don't want that to happen because I thought Aquaman is badass. Man of Steel is the criminally underrated film. Sorry, Jerome. Man of Steel. I'm going to defend it to my dying breath. Like other movies in the DCU are just not as good as others. Like Man of Steel and Aquaman, those are the beasts from the East, baby. But everything else, it's like you really need to make a good film. You need to make a good hero, and the hero is only as good as their villain. If you don't have a good villain in a movie, your movie's going to be squashed. So DC, wake up, smell your coffee, read your comic books, and make a good comic book movie. Because to me, you haven't made a good one since Aquaman.
And for me though, like Wonder Woman was, it kind of like solidified that there could be some hope. She's not ever been the title character of anything other than Linda Carter, but like she is grossly underrepresented, and I think that they played it out very well. Only in the thing I haven't seen the 84, but I've seen trailers, so it seems to me like that whole thing with Chris Pine and the mascara and all of these things play up the world that she's living in with a man by her side. I like the power that gives female representation in comic books. So if everybody else got on the bandwagon with that, because Marvel has kick-ass women, but they're not at the forefront. And
that's because the studio head said, no female could, pull off a lead as a superhero movie.
And now we got the Black Widow allegedly.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's and then Wonder Woman came out and made buku dollars, and then so that
Marvel's like, hey, remember when we said we may do a spinoff with Hawkeye and Black Widow? Yeah, we're gonna do it now, even though you waited 10 years too late, Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is where Marvel though has the edge over DC, is because Warner Brothers has always owned DC, and the only characters they always recycled was Superman and Batman, Superman and Batman, Superman and Batman. And they had thousands and thousands of characters. Yeah. Marvel is doing it right. They have all these characters, and we've seen Iron Man, we've seen Fantastic Four, we've seen X-Men, Spider-Man. I mean, they're giving their other chance.
They did Blade as a movie.
Yeah. And that's a good movie too, with Wesley Snipes.
That's why Disney bought Marvel, was 1,500 characters that are already developed that they can do tons with. Come on. We're still waiting for the new Warriors to be released, which I don't think is ever going to see the light of day.
New Mutants.
Could you imagine the Marvel Universe had they gone ahead with the Dazzler film back in the 80s?
Oh, I would have loved it, man.
I would have taken a Jubilee movie over Dazzler, personally.
Just go roller skating. Come on.
That's because I grew up on the 92 animated series.
Just go roller skating. How can you go wrong with that, with Dazzler?
Well, they mentioned her in, there was a cameo or an Easter egg of her in X-Men Apocalypse.
I think they ought to do like they did with Captain Marvel. I think they ought to do that with Dazzler.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
You know, do it as a timepiece. You know,
Oh boy, have her crash through a Blockbuster video, or in this case, have her crash through a Hollywood video, because that was one of Blockbuster's competitors.
No. She doesn't go through videos, man. She's disco. We're not even talking VCRs yet, man. We're talking vinyl. Tower Records, man.
Okay, Tower Records I can get with. That's...
Okay, so then 2015 is the film that you guys have basically already killed, and that was Jurassic World.
Yeah, that was garbage. Terrible movie.
2016 was another Pixar movie, which is Finding Dory.
Yeah.
The spinoff,
Yeah, I was surprised at how big that was.
Yeah, same here.
And
I like that one.
And so in the number one film for the entire year was Rogue One, right?
Yeah.
Am I reading that right? So, and that was released in December. We were at the theater for that one.
Yeah.
Love Rogue One.
I love Rogue One too.
I will defend that movie to my dying breath.
My problem with Rogue One was the story was so disjointed, in my opinion.
It's because of the reshoots, man. Blame it on the reshoots. I think the movie flows pretty well, quite frankly.
I liked it.
I mean, Rogue One's been damn good. I mean, it's the best prequel we're ever going to get from Star Wars. So.
It was a little creepy seeing Carrie Fisher, but
hey,
like a young Carrie Fisher. I think they
circa 77, but it looked good to me.
I think they did a good job, though.
Yeah, it's Uncanny Valley, but it looked good.
Rogue One was the first Star Wars movie that actually showed like war.
Oh, dark war too. Like it's real, man.
There was blood. It was the first
blood.
Yeah, the first.
No. There was blood in New Hope. He was in the bar scene. You know, cut off his arm.
Oh yeah, in the cantina. Yeah. Which I have a display of over here on my nerd shelf. Thanks for pointing that out.
So 2017 was Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Wow.
And I mean, like I said. Now, that could or couldn't be because Patty Jenkins was at the helm of that movie.
She's a great director.
Charlize Theron in Monster. Good heavens, is that a great movie?
I mean, like, there's some very she's.
I put her with Catherine Bigelow as two of the best female directors.
I can get with that because I saw Catherine Bigelow's Zero Dark 30. She did a darn good directing job on that one.
So
good points. Good points.
It was interesting because Wonder Woman did kind of take place in that. It was kind of a period piece.
World War One, yeah.
World War One. Yep, and then 2018 was Incredibles 2,
which took 14 years to make.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah, but you know what?
14 years, Willow. 14 years.
But it was worth it because I mean, you don't want a crappy after the first one. You wouldn't want a crappy sequel.
That's fair. That's completely understandable from a storytelling standpoint.
Yeah.
And well, they did the same thing with Toy Story. It took a long time for the second one and the third one and the fourth one to come out.
I think it's better that they wait on these sequels.
Yeah. It makes the anticipation build more.
Yeah, but you know what? If you get a decent story, you know, then it's worth the wait.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
Before we go to the last film for a minute, was Tomorrowland a summer film?
I don't think so, but I'll check.
That's a good question because I remember seeing that in the theater that year.
I love that film.
I did too, and that was set up.
Tomorrowland was It was fine, but it didn't knock my socks off, but it was fine. I mean, it had Dr. House in it, you know.
That's the one with George Clooney.
And a young and talented, I might add, Britt Robertson, who doesn't get enough credit. She's a very well-talented young actress.
May 20.
Did I miss this film?
May 22nd.
Oh, so it was a summer film.
Yeah, but that one suffered from some seriously bad advertising. The marketing on that was really bad.
Just like John Carter. John
Carter had the same issue.
Was it 2018?
I must have missed this film because there was nothing for it. Like nothing for the trailers or
because it's not that good of a movie.
I saw one trailer for it.
Yes,
what, for Tomorrowland?
For Tomorrowland,
yeah. I mean, I go to this page. I go to the Movie Box, and they do trailers all the time. I'm over there once a week, so that's how I know about some of these films. but marketing, Disney is horrible with marketing.
That's why they need to call people like us who know these films and know how to market stuff. Willow knows how to market stuff. Brian knows how to market. Terry.
Actually, it's not Disney because no studio actually markets. Studios pay marketing firms. So it's the marketing firms that they use.
Then they need a better marketing
firms. We should start one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, all of us know our stuff because some of us have read more comics than others. I mean, Jerome, you've been around a number of years longer than I have. So, like, you know your stuff. I know stuff from the 90s because I speak 90s quite fluently because 90s is my baby. Willow knows stuff that I don't, and it's impressive. So
that's because I spend way too much time in a comic book store.
And Willow, hey, I love going to comic stores. I could spend hours on end talking to the employees that work there because they know their stuff. But unfortunately, Earth is closed today, like Iron Man likes to tell us every morning. So it's like, I got to do it on Facebook, but it's so much fun to learn from these people. So yeah, Disney, call us. Give us the marketing job. And plus, I'm more than happy to help you make Tron 3, because if you give me Tron 3, I will love you to pieces.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about cleaning that up.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, you said, Jerome knows everything.
Yeah, because he's a smart guy.
Well, earlier he was talking about an arc. So, I mean.
Yeah, it's true. He didn't know what Raiders was, but it's all right. We informed him.
I'm glad I missed that.
No, it's okay. Well, you didn't. It's okay. Jerome and I were just teaching each other a few things about life and movies. It's fine.
I'll watch the replay later.
You should. You should watch the unrated director's cut when we get off here. We're going to do what is it called, Brian? Reels and Heels After Dark.
Oh.
It's coming soon to a theater near you, kids. Watch out.
After Dark. Talk about porn After Dark.
Hey, it's PG. We're allowed one swear.
Yeah, we can do it here, but on Hanging with Web Show After Dark, we may want to, change our mindsets.
We're already we already used our one.
And we used 2 of them already. Nicole's looking at me like I've used 2 swear words. Have I? I don't think so.
No, she has. Nicole has.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Completely fair.
But it was shit both times. So actually,
counts as
but
one.
if you
use one F-bomb.
Remember, if you use one F-bomb, it's PG-13. If you use 3, 2, it's R. 3 is R.
You're an R-rated film.
That's right. That's why Hamilton had to get rid of 2 F-bombs. There were 3 in the film. They had to get rid of 2 of them.
See?
We need to work on a delay so that we can just like mute.
Beat me out.
I mean,
because you know it's going to be me.
I don't know.
Jeez.
If you know me, you know it's going to be me. It's not going to be him. It's going to be me.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait a few years to find out what the next summer blockbuster is going to be, since Earth is going to be closed for the foreseeable future. But you know what, kids? As long as we stay together, we work as a team to get rid of this thing, we're going to be fine. So
the last one, so 2019, and this at the time when Brian printed this, I guess, was it was Aladdin.
What?
A film that no one asked for, a film that I feel bad my girl Naomi Scott was a part of because she's the Pink Ranger in 2017's Power Rangers reboot. Naomi, babe, I wish you nothing but good things in the future, but you starring in Charlie's Angels and especially Aladdin did not do you any favors.
Yeah, that Charlie's Angels nobody asked for.
It didn't do anybody any favors.
Nobody probably asked for the Aladdin, but the Aladdin was decent. It was good.
It wasn't a terrible. I mean,
it wasn't terrible.
Nobody asked for it, but it wasn't terrible. Like I thought it held a candle to the animated film, but I'm still partial to the animated.
Film. I mean, the animated film is a masterpiece.
I love Aladdin. I went and saw the Broadway Aladdin.
Oh, I want to see that so bad.
Well, the thing is that the guy who plays Genie in an interview goes, I'm not Robin Williams. I'm never going to be Robin Williams. I'm just going to have to do the best I can, and you all are going to have to accept that. You know?
Yeah.
And I've heard good things about the show, so one of these days I hope to catch it.
But in just to precur something I said before, is that it was the first time that Disney actually did cast people of the cultural background as characters.
Which is why I'm disappointed that they keep pushing back Mulan.
With Aladdin and Jasmine,
You want Mulan on Disney Plus?
Just do it already. We're gonna watch it regardless.
It's been pushed back indefinitely, which tells me there's something going on behind the scenes.
Probably.
you know.
And that
Something's
makes me
delayed.
sad because I love the story of Mulan.
Oh, I do too.
And the live action Mulan, from a marketing standpoint, looks really good, and I want to see
yeah,
that
it does.
movie really bad. I want to
Yeah.
see how this young up and coming actress plays the role. I want to see what she can do.
And the thing is, people are like, it's a remake of the cartoon, but it's actually based on the
Not really.
real Mulan.
Based on
Yeah, it's
the
based on the actual legend of the person,
Yeah,
the story.
exactly.
That's why I want to see the movie.
There's no dragon.
Put it
Yeah,
on
there's
Disney
no-
Plus,
I
people.
was just gonna say no Mushu.
Yeah,
Who cares
Mushu.
about Mushu? Just give us the movie. I mean, Mushu, you can watch the animated version on Disney Plus. Dragon. I don't do that tongue thing.
I'm gonna go.
Tongue thing.
I want Mushu. I'll go to the local Chinese restaurant.
Exactly. See, Jerome knows what's up, folks. He knows what's up. He knows a thing or two because he's seen a thing or two. That's what I'm
Thank you.
saying.
So as we get to the end here, you're kind of
Now we're at the end. We've been at the end for 15 minutes, Brian. Just tell us to do the plug so we can get out of here and have dinner.
I just want to say final thoughts on the summer blockbuster.
Oh, boy. Which
Summer
way are we
block-
going? Are we going clockwise on the screen or counterclockwise?
Well, we'll start with you since you're talking.
Oh, I don't
Okay,
want to be
Randy.
rude. I don't want to be rude to Jerome here, but
No, go for it.
all right, I guess I'll go because Jerome can do this a heck of a lot better than I can. Here's the thing. Summer blockbusters. We've seen good, we've seen bad, we've seen downright ugly, but the bottom line is this. There are so many good summer blockbusters out there that we want to keep in our hearts and our minds because they have influenced us in one way or another, whether it be in our occupation, whether it be in our daily lives, and they've been fun to watch. So kids, if you're watching this and you want to know what good summer blockbusters are, watch the first couple of minutes of this show because then we derail about, first hour.
But the first 10 years, yeah.
But I'm just gonna give you three. Well, I could give you a lot more, but I'll give you three recommendations: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and Tim Burton's 1989 film Batman. Take that with what you will. But other than that, this was a fun discussion. Thanks for having me. Back to you with the desk.
Jerome?
I'm out of breath. I got nothing.
Okay. Blockbusters have changed over the years. Okay,
Very
what we've
true.
expect out of them, what they have done to us, just what it is. A blockbuster has changed over the years, and we're going to continue to see that change. It's either going to be an evolution or a de-evolution, depending upon how we as a society think of blockbusters. Okay. The summer blockbuster starts at the end of May and goes until August. That's when the real definition of the summer is for the theaters. There are dynamite films that we talked about. I mean, you got to start with the very first one, which is New Hope. Okay, Star Wars New Hope. That's the one that started it all off. And then pick whichever one or two others that strike your interest, because I guarantee you, once you start, it's like a potato chip. You just can't eat just one. So you're going to be going and you're going to start it. And it's a good way to start your expansion of your cinematic knowledge, because then you can start going, hey, they made reference to a film that was in the 1950s. Maybe I should go see that also. And that's the whole point of the beauty of a blockbuster. It can start you down a path that will enlighten you and enrich you for years to come.
That's a good example there. Willow, what about you?
Well, summer blockbusters for me has always been great music. It has to have a good score, and great actors. Not necessarily known actors, because we've all seen, no names become big. Hugh Jackman. I was in that conversation. But yeah. And as long as we continue seeing stuff from like Joss Whedon, Jon Favreau, just Jerry Bruckheimer, I know he's a producer. I'm sorry about my little quip earlier. But they make good movies. I want to see them continue making good movies. And, as long as we have Danny Elfman making music, we're going to have some good music, really good movies. So,
Oh boy.
What about you? Final thoughts on the Blockbuster?
Like I said, the only reason I think I watch movies is because Brian makes me. And so
Yeah, I use Jerome's whip.
That's love right there. I want you to know that. That's love.
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that I don't enjoy them, but I don't think I would spend the money to go to the theater. But because for me, a lot of the movies that I love are movies that I don't want to see in the theater because they make me cry. And so, and if you know me, then I don't just cry. I ugly cry. And
Nicole, you're talking to a woman who cried through Star Wars, okay?
that's okay, because the last 3 Star Wars I've cried through.
Oh my goodness.
But I think that anything that makes you happy to be a moviegoer, I think that that's kind of where you start. I think it's fun to see movies in the summer, I think, because the weather's hot and it's a good way to cool off. That's one.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a good way to spend your time when you don't have anything else to do. It's like the summer is always the time when you get to take a vacation from your real life. And that's what movies are, is an escape. So, it gives us some joy. Everything that I've seen in the summer, it really has been, a lot of it's been Marvel, but a lot of
They've been dominating the circuit for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has been fun and just, it's kind of like embrace that summertime feel, like what you expect summer to be. So I think that if you're a moviegoer and you love movies, then the Blockbusters are where you start.
Yep.
Yeah. Today was an extra fun day.
It was a long show, Brian.
It worked
Way longer than your original episodes usually are at this time of day.
Yes, but we all enjoyed this episode, I believe. And Jerome, you're always welcome.
I'm so glad that you guys were still talking when I got home.
Oh man, Willow was like, "Wait a minute, doesn't the show end at 4:00 Eastern time?"
I waited for my bus. I'm like, "They're still on."
Yeah, we can blame Brian for that.
Yeah, it's all my fault. All right, Jerome. Like I said, you're always welcome on. So where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at Saturday Morning Cartoons. We'll be back after right around Labor Day. We're taking a month hiatus. I'm on Facebook. You can find me there. I'm on YouTube. No, not on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. No, that's business. Sorry, I'm looking for a job right now. I'm unemployed since March, so that's why I was doing that. I'm on
anybody that's watching that is hiring. Jerome's looking for a job, so you can find him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and I'm also on Twitter. You can find me there too. Okay.
And Ryan, it's always a pleasure for you. So, where people can find you?
Wait,
Great. About to do plugs and we cut out again. Jeez. Okay, I must be cursed. I must be cursed. It's not Willow's fault. It's my fault. Okay. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, plugs. That's right. What was I going to say? Yes, you can find me if I'm still awake and alive by tomorrow morning, because Brian just took all the energy out of my life. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Check out my podcast. It's called The Nerdcast. I review movies past and what lack there is of the present. Sorry, COVID-19 is destroying everything. Check me out on Anchor, Google, Spotify. Check out our YouTube channel. It's called Nerd Culture. Find us on all the forms of social media at It's Nerd Culture. A lot of things are coming up very soon. We got a ton of videos up right now, and I think I'm at the point where I need 1.21 gigawatts of energy to get me through the next 6 to 18 hours because of this guy. I'm looking at you, Brian. But other than that, this was fun, man. I think I found the Holy Grail in about 10 minutes. It's called dinner. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for having me. Make sure you don't open the Ark of the Covenant because it never ends well. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now let's go back to 1985 and go back to you, Brian, at the desk.
I do want to say welcome to the Hanging With family.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Nerd Culture is happy to be here, folks. We're happy to be with Hanging With Web Show, Web TV. Thank you, guys.
Fun to you guys.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Especially when they keep you for an hour and a half longer than you should have been kept. That's okay. We still love each other around here, folks. It's all happy-go-lucky. It's all s'mores and extra peanut butter sandwiches at the end of the day. So we're all good. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
And Willow, we know that you're normally here with us, but you've been.
I'm actually going to be back next week for the wrestling.
What's the name of the show?
Oh,
What's our show next week?
It's called Reels and Heels.
the heels turn. The best heel.
That's heel turns. Okay.
Heels
I'm back.
turns in wrestling.
Thank you, Brian, for filling in for me while I'm not able to be on the show. Either way, you're going to get a very good-looking Libra. We found out that we're pretty much twins. Our birthdays are a day apart from each other. Oddly enough.
Yeah, don't miss Lights Thunder Action coming up pretty soon. Jeez.
In about an hour too.
Yeah, there's too many shows to count here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, here at the Hanging With TV show crew, there's a lot of great creators, and we love what Dave
wonderful people to work with.
Yes.
Even those of us who make you talk longer than you need to on a subject.
Gee whiz, Brian.
Get along so well.
All right, I'll take the blame.
Yeah, but it says so because we're all still talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but until next week, you guys be good.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
stay safe, stay strong. We're gonna make it through this together, and may the force be with you all.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
I don't touch your face.
Peace and long life.